Well, hello. You're about to hear spaces that are recorded tonight. I didn't record it on Twitter because I don't want it on there, but this is a private screening for you. I'm really sorry. I forgot to mute the microphone on my PC. There is like a quieter version of me repeating everything before you hear it come through on the recording. So that's highly annoying, and you might not be able to watch it as a result. But yeah, here it is as per requested. Cheers. Talk about riddles. If you want to talk about those, Devon still at work.
Cool.
This is going to be
Right, hello all. I'm here for a chill. Talk about riddles. If you want to talk about those.
Talk about XRP in general.
Devon,
whatever floats
still
your
at
boat,
work.
really.
No worries, brother.
Just gonna let it.
No problem. This is going to be an open invite for anyone who wants to chat about riddles. Like them, understand them, agree with them. Talk about XRP in general. Whatever floats your boat, really. Just going to let it flow. So if anybody has got any questions, feel free to put your hand up and we'll get chatting. If not, I'll just have a little splurb about what I wanted to splurb about. Let's give it another minute.
Okay, cool. So anybody who wanted to come up stage, just send me a request. Tonight I'm just gonna recording this for my compadres.
Okay, cool. So anybody who wanted to come up stage, just send me a request. Tonight I'm just gonna recording this for my compadres.
The most
privately with them. So I'll just talk and let rip. So the riddles.
And I've gone on a bit of a journey.
They're wonderful.
Them, learning them.
They're the most inspiring thing I've ever been involved in. They have changed the dynamic of my life tenfold. And I've gone on a bit of a journey, understanding them, learning them. And so what do I think they are doing? What's the purpose? Well, you have to be of a particularly open mind. Once you delve down them and you see how quite literally many of the riddles have predicted future events, and what they are, it's not like they're time travelers or anything. They're just a well-organized, oiled machine where certain events. Take Bearable Guy for example. He's been tweeting since 2018. He's been on the Reddit servers 2 years prior to that, and leaving little hints and clues along the way about future events. And I've done quite a few posts on exactly where and when and how he depicted something would happen in his own way, and it happened. He took it in terms of price, and the most obvious one. So it begins. He laid out an article which has, left breadcrumbs for you to investigate, which leads you all throughout the journey of regulations since 2019. Feel free to look at my pinned tweets to see the full, or some of the full ideas behind there. So it begins part 2 really delves into literally the signposts he left everybody, and that goes from the first clue, which is the Valentine's clue. The heart on his calendar actually links up to a regulatory phase. If you look at the tweet on the pinned, you'll see that it links up exactly to that. And then the second heart on his 2021 Christmas scene calendar links up to another phase where Biden signed an executive order in March of 2022. Now, there's a lot of massive emphasis on riddles. Everyone is, on regulation. Regulation being, I think, the key to everything that is encompassed the riddles. I think for crypto especially, without regulation, this is just a speculative market, and as you've seen, it's been highly manipulated. People have lost a lot of money, gained a lot of money, vice versa. But that is not going to stay. There's no way an unregulated market with over 20,000 different cryptos, of which hardly any of them do anything, actually have any utility or purpose, can stay like that. There's just no way it could stay like that. But it's an introduction to digital money. And that's why it's been allowed. And to be honest, if you look at the way regulations work, companies have been working unregulated for a long time. They've been able to do a lot of backdoor Ponzi schemes and a lot of tax evasion and goodness knows what. So as much as it's been good for those who took advantage, those of us retail who took advantage, it's been a massive, big money-making scheme for those with the knowledge and power. Crypto scene especially, if you follow people like Waters Above Crypto, who exposes how a lot of the esoteric is used in the markets to predict certain events, even coded by the numbers. I totally agree with him on that side of things. I think what the riddles and people that are quite in the know have been trying to reveal to us all is that the markets, or the broader picture, let's put it this way, the broader picture of their existence, I think, is for them to show those that can see the broader nature of their existence is to show us that there is this simulated aspect to it, that everything is planned, prepared, and there's nothing left up to chance. It's all programming and algorithms in this speculative market. But then the future of what happens and how regulations will take hold and make good of this digital sector. I think what they're trying to show us is that, so that if we are to be future wealthy people, which I think we will, I think everybody is in the agreement that the Cambrian explosion hasn't happened yet. It did for Bitcoin. Bitcoin was like a test pilot. 69,000 from nothing is an incredible feat. That was most certainly a test pilot for whatever's to come. Whether it'll have any store of value in the future, that's yet to be determined, but I know a lot of Bitcoiners think it'll be worth millions one day. The verdict's certainly out for me on that, but you never know. You never know at all. It could be like a rare item. But I didn't come here to talk about Bitcoin. I came here to talk about the riddles and XRP. So it begins. Regulations. There's some great links on there as to why. Well, for a starter, from one of Bearable Guy's early tweets, it was literally 33 months to the lawsuit, which is depicted by the suns on his two calendars. So if you remember his calendars, the 2019 calendar and the 2020 calendar, if you just count the months between the two suns, that was 33 months, and that's the exact duration from Bearable Guy's first post. 3/22/2018. 33 months later, we got the lawsuit. So that tells you that it was everything about that. And obviously, we've just had some clarity on 7/13. And that was a particularly pinnacle day. That was of, I can't remember the exact duration now, but it was definitely a 3-2-1 duration. If you just do the Christmas date to 7/13, you get the answer. Now, there's a lot of insiders in the game who've been telling us, giving us hints. And again, I think they're trying to show us the simulation of it all. Also, just a little bit of insider fun, trying to help their friends out, etc. But I think mostly, I think it's to enlighten us, because I think the biggest message is that we are going to be future wealthy people. And I don't think that's exclusive to XRP, but I think the XRP is probably the main asset. There are a few others that may well do okay after everything, but yeah, that was it. The lawsuit to 7/13 was 30 months and 21 days, 3-2-1. So you can't say that is not a simulated duration. And that's what they're trying to tell us with So it begins 3-2-1 mountains in reverse, mountain 3, 2 and 1. So yeah, simulation being the first one. I think that goes in line with Mr. Paul as well. I do a lot of decoding on him, and although it's it's tough to follow, you need to do it full time if you really want to understand them. I've him enough, understand him enough to see that he, more than anybody, is showing simulation. He's not just sticking to XRP; he's doing events. He literally predicted the Queen's parting to the date with all of his black swans. He did it in meticulous fashion through different methods that I figured out last year, and blew my mind at that point. And I've come a long way since, and I think I have a good idea of what's going on, so I can see what the average person cannot see. And I think a lot of you people here probably have that similar skill or developing it. And what does the future wealthy person do? Well, the Masons and so forth, and it's very clear that the Masons or a group or groups likened to them are running the show. It's very, very clear. Very, very clear. You only have to look at the new Twitter logo and mirror it side by side, and it's literally the compass and square. And so it's what is the point of us getting on that bandwagon and owning XRP? So everybody's complained for the last 2 years that nothing happens. All the decoders put out a different date, nothing happens. Well, that's true, and that's because everybody got it wrong, including me. We've been seeing the connections, but it just wasn't ready. It's never been ready. It was always used to take this long, and you can see that by the details. You can see, by the lawsuit ending 30 months and 21 days, that it was always meant to end exactly when it ended, and it hasn't quite ended yet. That's part one. So that's why Moon hasn't happened. And I know a lot of people get to it, are very excited, and some decoders haven't. They're getting there, but most decoders, especially if the new ones, they see a few dates and they think it's Moon. And I've been there. I was there when I first joined, when I first discovered it. I did all that too. But where am I now? I'm a lot more understanding of the messages. And I can tell you that, I mean, it's obvious that we're ramping up now, isn't it? We're sort of halfway there on the regs. So what's to come? Let's just kind of ad hoc, really. So, unless you guys want to jump in and start filling some of my noise, I'll just keep rambling. So what's to come? You're here because you probably follow me, or you just come here by mistake. So what I can reveal to you in my belief. I'm just going to start from the juicy stuff. I believe that XRP is ritualized with the Mayans. There is a tweet by Ripple Riddler called, it was about the finish line. And in that tweet, if you look at the fifth word, it's the. Look at the eighth word, it's the word May. If you look at the ninth word, it's An, the Mayan. And you should repeat that process. The next word is game. The Mayan game. Now, why is that important? Well, XRP was created on the 2nd of June, 2012. Now we're looking at, it's 11 years ago, 11 years and change. That's a long time ago. But there was a problem in the beginning where they lost a lot of the data, and that's been a contentious issue. Now, if you remember, a certain there's a few accounts that made a big meal of that recently in the last 6 months, and that's only to, everyone thought that was a damning distraction, but no, it's to highlight to you to use your intuition and sort of the reverse psychology and realize what the message is. And the message was to investigate it, so I did, and it turns out that the first recorded recoverable data was recovered on the 22nd of December 2012. That's exactly 8 years before the lawsuit to the day. So okay, that's an interesting date. Well, in my memory, I was like, okay, well, that's strange. That's literally the day after the world was supposed to end according to the Mayans. That was the 21st of December 2012, just like the movie 2012. And after that movie, depicted in that movie was a big reset, a big flood of liquidity, and all hell broke loose. Kind of what most schizos are preparing for with regard to everything we see that Mr. Paul posts. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen literally, probably a lot of it's metaphorical. But I think our eyes have been certainly opened by the storm for the last 3 years that has been playing out. So anyway, let's get back to it. So I thought that was an entirely interesting correlation that the first recoverable data was the very, very first day of, let's just say, the new Mayan existence, the day after the Mayans ended the world. So what else started in 2012? It was Cicada 3301. It was a set of riddles left on the internet for people to solve. I had no idea of them then, and to be honest, I only recently looked into them, but it was quite instantly sort of like interesting. Found some cool things where he'd written in relation to, we've been going since 2012. So that was him sort of linking the Cicada movement back to this current movement. Now that Cicada did 3 riddles in a row, well, 3 sets of riddles, 3 years in a row. And those riddles, I don't know, I've seen some of the content, it's really, really interesting. Really, really interesting. But basically, they were on the 2nd of January, the first one, and then the 4th of January the 2 years subsequent up until 2014. There's some hint that they might have put something out after that, but I'm not sure if it was verified as actually theirs. But anyway, that duration from 2012 to 2014 was 733 days. And if you reverse that, you get 337. Now, day 337 is the 3rd of December, and that's the date that Paul shows in one of his videos, the What Can You Do video, I think it's that one. It says 3rd of December, 10 a.m. So there we've got the link to the riddles, to Cicada and riddles. Interestingly, as well, there are some other links, but I'm absolutely certain that Cicada, the recruitment for whatever they were doing then, is now playing out here. And I don't know if this is a further recruitment drive, but it certainly feels like an esoteric learning zone. And those of us that have sort of been chatting and learning from the people on Twitter, you can't help but learn all about the Masons, the Jachim and Boaz, and everything there is, to learn. I mean, we're just scratching the surface, but we're far more aware now than most people in the world. Our view, if you're one of those people, our view on the world has probably significantly changed over the last few years. And I know I certainly see something, although I had to deal with all the dealing with the emotional shit to start with. I got past that, and a really good channel on YouTube. I love this guy. His name's Logan from Decode Your Reality. He uses Chaldean gematria to decode the world, and he shows it as a bit of a matrix in terms of how everything lines up. And whether you like that kind of thing or not, that's here or there. But his overall message is: this is a game. You're being shown that it's a game, and you need to find the neutral path. And that's very, very amazing. So he denies being a Mason, but he has a very, very esoteric kind of enlightened outlook where you're not constantly at war with yourself. You're not constantly in fear. You're just right down the middle because you're somewhat prepared for what's coming. And I think all these riddles have been teaching us that. I think a lot of us are numb. If there was an earthquake tomorrow or some kind of tsunami, it would obviously be really sad for the people involved, but I think overall, we've seen enough now to be fairly numb to what's going on emotionally, and I think a lot of us are a lot more able to emotionally process the world around us, and I think that's part of our preparation for wealth, part of our preparation for the future. And I think this is, I don't know if anyone's going to come knocking on our door or knocking on our DMs saying we'd like you to join the Masons, but I think there's a new breed of people in the future, and it could even be in our own Discord communities where we stay together and we grow together from our new enlightened positions, and with our wealth as well. Who knows what we could do. Anyway, so the Mayans, massively part of the game. You've got the harmonic calendar, which links in with the Egyptian Mayan calendar as well. That started on 26th of July, just a few days ago, with the 25th being called a day out of time. If you want to look up that on Google, if you don't know much about it, it's called just search for like the Mayan harmonic calendar and you'll find that. It's an interesting look. I found in my discoveries they're using tons of calendars to play around on the riddles, even though it's denied by some, without doubt. I've concrete proof that I've used about 4 or 5 different calendars to prove riddles. They do exist in terms of their fun. A lot of the riddles can be solved by understanding the relationship of time. A lot of people fall down the gematria wormhole straight away, and you get consumed by it. And I think that's deliberate as well. Same with numerology, adding numbers here and there. They are all probably methods in there to get information. However, I think if you were to study time and understand the relationship, say for example, Paul tweets once, and he tweets the same thing again a year and a half later, and then maybe again one more time. It's the relationship between those tweets that you want to to study. So if you want to have an idea of how to understand him, that's what you want to be looking for, is that space in between. There's things that you can't see. You're like, right, what's he trying to tell me? What time zone did he tweet? Okay, let me consider what the time is in San Francisco at that time, in New York, or even London. So if you want to find patterns, and it's a bit late in the day now, I think we're getting close to some kind of finale. Well, the beginnings of finale. But yeah, that's my tip to you. And if you want to know about any of the particular tweets, clues that I believe I solved over the time, then come and ask, and I'll let you know. But some of them are in my pinned. Anyway, so I'll keep rattling on. I've got a little audience, and then you can ask some questions. So what do I expect? I just did a tweet earlier. I've no idea if I'm right, but my educated guesses are getting better. When the lawsuit happened, I looked back through my, when the XRP is not a security happened, I looked back through my tweets and I realized I'd solved it on a few occasions. I just hadn't, what I shamefully didn't do was create a database of all of my decodes, and I would have seen the pattern. I would have seen that I'd solved it. But and this was from some of our community members. If you've been following me, you've probably seen those tweets. Anyway, moving on, I digress. Last year I had a massive epiphany. I went mental over decode for the 13th of August. It was really quite cool at the time, and I called it an epiphany because it was like someone had possessed me, and I just had all this information just buzzing through my brain, and everything I looked at connected to 13th of August. And it's the 813 or the 138 is a really prominent number. You'll see it loads, and I'm not saying anything particular happens on this day this year, but just to get the ball rolling, you'll see that number quite a lot if you do study the riddles. It is a number that reoccurs. But anyway, whether we get any kind of movement on that day, it's sort of around the time of dog days of summer and Sirius, and astrology is not my strong point, but I see a lot of people talking about Venus and aligning, being the morning star, etc., etc. So, but that's not my expertise. If somebody wants to comment on that later, you can. But moving on from there, I just did a tweet earlier. Just have a look through my last tweet, and you'll see a little section about the 24th of August. I think that could be a powerful day. I only say I think, because I'm not an insider, and I don't know. But it's looking quite promising from an aspect of potentially regulations or law. Exactly 13 weeks since Mr. BG said weeks. It's only a matter of weeks, he said, and that day would be 13 weeks. And you see the whole tweet. There's a whole more detail in there. Just to sort of expand on that, Mr. Poole, when he first began, he sent out a tweet with it's the 23rd of October 2019, and he had a bearable guy scene, and he was moving all the pieces around, and so it showed that Paul was linked to, or was indeed, bearable guy, and there was a code in the tweet, a series of numbers, and Fojak and maybe some others deciphered the code via some number translators, and it spelled the word believe. Now, I've got a tweet in my pinned recently where I was looking at it more, thinking, there's more to this, and very simply I added up all of the numbers together, and it equaled 1827, 1827. Funnily enough, if you add that number to Paul's very first tweet, it takes you 5 years later, 23rd of October 2024. So I don't know if the message was, we need to believe for this long, but I suspect because he retweeted it again in 2021, and I found out the relationship between those tweets. I did what I just told you I would do earlier. I looked at the relationship, and I understood what it meant. And so I believe when he tweeted it was the same day as the April high of 2021. Now I think later in October, and for other reasons as well, there could be another period of belief. It might be an interesting indicator. I do think the 13th of October this year is going to be a pivot point, whether up or down. I can't commit to that at this stage, but keep that in mind, keep that in your diary. The week of the 13th of October could be a strong pivot point, as the eclipse is the next day on the 14th. Not financial advice, because I have no idea, I'm not an insider. But anyway, the correlation between his first post and the lawsuit, if I remember correctly, was 426 days. So it's like a ripple effect through time. If you drop a pebble into the sea, it'll ripple in every single direction, left, right, up and down, every direction. Now, if you do that with pool and you ripple time and you compare, okay, so the lawsuit was divulged 426 days later. So because I believe I figured out when he ends,
again brings me to the 24th of August.
I then ripple backwards from his ending, the 23rd of October 2024. I rippled back the same distance in time, 426 days, and it again brings me to the 24th of August. So if I'm right, and my hunch is right, that could be quite a turning point for XRP or regulations, crypto in general. I don't know yet what to expect, but funnily enough, the debt ceiling is almost there to the 33 trillion. So I would imagine we hit that just before 824. Anywhere between the 11th of August and the 24th of August. I imagine we hit the 33 trillion, and I don't know what's going to happen. But I imagine it'll be somebody else's fault that there is some kind of economic fallout. So there'll be another distraction. Oh, it's not the fact that we hit 33 trillion. It's because of the cyber attack, or it's because of the tsunami 1,000 miles away, or I don't know, some other kind of just magically happened event that probably takes the blame away. Or maybe even somebody passes away. I don't know. But
essentially crypto's quite low.
Either way, I think that's going to be a very, very poignant time for us. We can see, as a result, if people are exiting the regular markets, and essentially crypto's quite low, really. And if you look at XRP, it's gone up nicely, but it's still, comparative to everything, really low in its chart. It's ready for a boom. I can see a lot of liquidity cuts starting to come in around it. And if my hunch is right, October could be a nice sort of time for taking a break, taking some profits, maybe. But somewhere between those dates, between August and October, I think we are going to get sort of a similar crash to the 1929 crash. Except the things are very, very different now. So the stock market, essentially, is what I'm saying. And bonds, I think a lot of stuff is going to go see its arse go through the floor. And again, that will probably be because something caused it to happen. Again, the same things that I mentioned. I did have a big decode from Paul for around about the 25th of September, that potentially occurring. But I don't try to predict time on everything. It's just one of those. But there we go. And then finally, so I'm gonna conclude because it's getting a little bit monotonous. Once we get these few months out of the way, long-term thoughts are I'm certainly keeping my XRP as much of it until 2024, because I think there's some key things that happen. And the reason I mentioned the Mayans earlier is because the correct date that XRP was born, as I stated earlier, was the 22nd of December 2012 and not the 2nd of June, because according to all sources, there is no traceable data prior to that point, and therefore, technically, its starting point is there, in line with the end of the world, according to the Mayans. So if we apply that beautiful 1123 code that we see in everything, if we add 11 years and 23 days, takes us to beautifully to about 589 days from mid-January. Consequently, for anybody who knew the beautiful Merlin from the Discord server a long time ago, around about 589 days from when he started. So those two are pretty stone bonker for a time for me when good things could happen if they hadn't happened prior. And then after that, let me explain the relationship one final time for a period of time that you want to be looking out for. So let's put it this way: if they want you out, which is you're seeing everything is designed to get you excited, hyped, and ready to offload your bags. You have a couple of already ideas in your mind of October and January, but I don't think the final shebang happens until April. And that was, I did a series of decodes from Paul in relation to a flip and switches, and goodness knows what, and two worlds collide. And so I think that it could be a much more significant event in April 2024. And that marries up like this. So from the big event that started the breakdown of the financial systems, the symbolic breakdown of the financial system in 2001, those two buildings that disappeared. From that date, plus 589 weeks, it takes us to Christmas Day, 3 days after the end of the world, according to the Mayans. Now, isn't that fascinating? 589 weeks, and it takes you to Christmas Day, just a few days after XRP's data began. If you had another 589 weeks from when XRP began, at that period of time, it takes you to the exact time I decoded, the weekend of the 6th of April, 2024, where I'd already decoded from Mr. Paul that a flip, a who knows what, collide, worlds collide, all those kind of things would happen. Now, I'm not saying they will happen. I'm usually wrong, but I'm a lot more right these days, sometimes. Anyway, so there for you, they're your gifts from me to you, to keep in the back of your mind. It's not financial advice, not telling you to do anything, but you can just see how everything unfolds, and if any of that plays into your strategy, you've got an idea on some timings, and that's my enlightened gift to many other enlightened people here, and that's the reason I present myself here tonight, is because I have a great deal of love for people, and I have a message to share, and I realized that that was in my code. I was designed to be that kind of person, and so therefore I do share it. Whether I'm right or wrong, you can consider it, stick it on a pen and paper, see if it plays out, and you can make some decisions maybe by it, or maybe not. Anyway, I'm done. I'm bored of my own voice. If you want to come up and chat, please do. I'll give you guys a few minutes to decide. Otherwise, I will keep it short and sweet, and I'll just end it there. I'm going to go silent for a minute, let you decide.
Your mum Ligma, thank you for the message. Nice job, babe. All right, we've got one request. Sir XRP.
Your mum Ligma, thank you for the message. Nice job, babe. All right, we've got one request. Sir XRP.
Not much. Let me just.
You're in the States, buddy?
You're coming out
How you
my
doing?
phone rather than my earphone, so let me just try and adjust that. You want to speak again?
Hey, man, what's going on?
1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1.
Not much. Let me just. You're coming out of my phone rather than my earphone, so let me just.
So how you doing? What do you want to say, bud?
Try and adjust that. You want to speak again?
1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1.
I got some predictions of my own. I'm a pre-novice.
Okay, well that's annoying. You're coming out of my phone, but no problem. I'll just keep muting myself. So how you doing? What do you want to say, bud?
Well, I missed your predictions, man. I got some predictions of my own. I'm a pre-novice Riddler myself. And I was thinking the dates might be along end of November to December 18th, somewhere around there. What are you thinking?
23 that comes up so much.
Yeah, I mean, I do think November is interesting. Obviously, that Thanksgiving era, you've got it's the November the 23rd, the 11/23 that comes up so much. Yeah, it's always a possibility there's going to be something happen around that time. You know, nothing I've said is a definite, but I've given some ideas to why there could be good moves. But yeah, November 23rd, December the 3rd I mentioned earlier. All-time high of XRP, the very first one, was on the 5th of December 2013. So you could always see a little bit of history repeating, for sure.
Well, they very well could.
Do you think it has any, like, do you think the 13th zodiac there of Ficus has anything to do with anything?
It could do.
Well, they very well could. That would be. I was actually born in that zone. So I've done a little bit of looking into it, but it could do. I couldn't. There's nothing that like I've come across that Stone Bonker made me say, yeah, it's definitely them. Because, you know, as I said earlier, you didn't hear it, but a lot of my focus has been on April next year, and more recently January next year as well. But you know, I do expect a lot of volatility from October through November, so it is possible we could see something occur in that time. I mean, I think, you know, if you're a bit of a schizo like I am, I genuinely do think that there's going to be some kind of cyber event. I genuinely do. I did a big post on it the other day, and although, you know, some of the connections were, wow, that's like a bit uncanny, it didn't happen. And that's fine. I didn't care. I'd rather be wrong, to be honest. But I had a bit of a confirmation from one of the insiders who tweeted a very similar thing 2 days and 11 hours later. And it was kind of, you know, through certain ways I managed to sort of link that he could have been responding to me to sort of say, yeah, you're barking up the right tree. You just haven't got the right date. But I think most of us expect that to kind of occur. And I think we might see the most volatility we've seen out of it all if that happens after that has occurred, if that makes sense.
So are you like are you like a big time Riddler?
I'm just a hobbyist, but I made it my hobby over the last couple of years to, take the advantage of this unique opportunity to look and listen to everything that was going on. I kind of view this. I did a tweet earlier that talked about it. I view this Twitter as a playground where we've been allowed to explore and understand and talk very openly about these insider messages. They're so clear. They're disguised in such a way that most people don't suspect them to be. They just say, shut up, he's just showing us a picture of his dog. What are you talking about? But it's been a breeding ground for discussion. And I say they, I do believe there's an organization or an organized effort, should I say, to enlighten those that are willing to be enlightened. So I spent the last 2 years doing that, really, researching and understanding. I met a couple of good people on the way. One of them is called Zen Machiavelli. He's a time enthusiast. He discovered a simulation type link between the death of Tupac and many other major events and death of other people, other rappers, especially across the world. And it was always following this 3119 pattern, which is the same date energy as 9/11, 2001. And I got a lot of inspiration from him, learning about time, and that helped me to understand the Riddlers. Because funnily enough, they talk in time. They massively talk in time. And you can get a lot of information from understanding a relationship between a couple of tweets, or just having a look at what the number patterns are.
So not to sound rude or dickheadish, but have you found any concrete evidence of any of this to come true whatsoever? Anything?
Yeah. So recently I looked back through, when the XRP got clarity, I looked back through my decodes. I wish I'd been keeping a better spreadsheet of what I've been writing, but there were a few instances, and I did retweet them, where I decoded a couple of insiders. And I'd got the date absolutely spot on. I just didn't know it. That's one instance. The big guy himself, BG123. Do you remember the riddle when, what is it? Something about the 4th of November, when, I don't know, XRP starts to crash or something like that. Do you remember that riddle?
Basically, so do you know much about the Roman calendar?
No, I'm a pre-novice.
Oct means not October.
You're a novice. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I did a decode on that one a while back now. Basically, so do you know much about the Roman calendar? How Oct means not October, not the 10th month, but 8. Oct means 8. Sept means 7, etc.
No, that's all new to me.
But this is
yeah, well, no worries. No, this is the difficulty new people have, and this is no criticism of you, and I completely understand you may have a lot of confirmation bias from your old belief systems, but this is 2 years of hard research has enabled me to understand. So essentially, the old Roman days, they added a couple of extra months to their calendar, but really October was the 8th month. November was the 9th month, December was the 10th, and therefore January was the 11th month and February the 12th. So BG's, he left the message to the community in 2017, I think. Don't quote me on the exact date, but he left it prior to the XRP all-time high. Now, if you look, what's beautiful is I wasn't around in XRP prior to this, but you can reverse engineer. So when you understand time and its relationship to events, you can just simply reverse engineer. So you look at his tweet, you look at when something occurred, and it occurred to me, I was looking at it, I've looked at it for a long, long time, and just one day I had a bit of an epiphany. I was like, oh, holy shit, that was so easy. It basically says when XRP starts to fall, everybody gets upset, something like that. So if you just consider, and the riddle said on the 4th of November, everyone's going to get pissed off. The banks are going to start something about something crashing and falling. Anyway, so the 4th of January, which would be November in the Roman style calendar, which was the 4th of November, XRP all-time high, and then started to collapse. And then if you look at the actual relationship between him posting it and the day it happened, there was a number confluence, which a pattern which is recognizable. I can't remember it off the top of my head. I do have a tweet somewhere where it explains it all. And one of our lovely community elders confirmed that I had decoded it correctly. And that's just a couple of things.
Wiser owls in the community. There's a few of them. Those have been in the community.
So who's the guys that contact you and say, hey, you're on the right path?
I'd say wise owls in the community. There's a few of them. Those have been in the community long enough. Probably know who I'm talking about.
2020, very early 2022, where he followed me, but
So like Baba?
Inexperienced then. I think he liked one particular tweet.
No, there was a period in 2020, very early 2022, where he followed me, but I was quite inexperienced then. I think he liked one particular tweet that I'd done. But since then, I followed him all throughout 2022, but later in 2022, I decided it wasn't my cup of tea. I felt it was very much of a distraction. So I, and we had some words as well at some point, and so I cut ties, and it was the best thing I ever did to extend my decoding abilities, because my understanding of relationship with time expanded. I then started refocusing on the bear and Mr. Poole, and I wasn't any longer distracted by the attention grabbing community, and I started doing well. So no, some other insiders. There's a particular wizard who I mentioned earlier who was involved.
So, do you think BG123 is Brad Garlinghouse?
Probably not, no. I think Brad Garlinghouse is obviously a smart guy, but I doubt he's got time to do all that. There'll be somebody out of view, somebody with an incredible intelligence, maybe with a beard,
I don't even know if he's real,
who could be that guy, but we'll never know.
There was a picture of him. Was there a picture of him? I'm not sure.
What about Arthur Brito?
Yeah,
He's pretty secretive.
Arthur Brito is quite an anonymous character. Mr. Schwartz is.
I don't even know if he's real, to be honest. Oh, actually, no. There was a picture of him. Was there a picture of him? I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, the fact that there was Arthur Brito is quite an anonymous character. Mr. Schwartz is a man of many talents, and who knows? I mean, if you've seen
the creator of the game. Sorry,
what's the TV show where they play that red light, green light game?
And I think that's very ominous. What we see.
Oh yeah, the Korean one.
The creator.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, the creator of the game. Sorry for spoiler if anybody hasn't watched it. He's actually involved from the very beginning, and I think that's very ominous with what we see. It's very likely that the creator is among the community, enjoying watching his game play out, watching us struggle and suffer and succeed. and I think they, whoever is involved, are with us and enjoying the process.
But I appreciate you weren't here, so I'll quickly go over it.
So what's your take? What's the point of all these riddles in your mind that you spent years of your life trying to figure it out?
I did mention all this earlier, but I appreciate you weren't here, so I'll quickly go over it. So I think the entirety of this started in 2012 with Cicada and Cicada 3301. That was a set of riddles that were given to the world to try and figure out. I'll let you do your own research on that. But I think it's to enlighten those who are waking up to the craziness of the last few years. I think it's I think honestly, in the grand scheme of things, it's like one big recruitment campaign, but not necessarily to actually get bums in seats in Masonic lodges, not necessarily, but to create an expansive new group of enlightened people who understand the esoteric, because when you fall down this rabbit hole, you start learning about Masonic ways, but not just Masons, but like the Rosicrucians and all other elements, because there are a lot of people in the community that explain the esoteric side, the magic side of what we see. It's not all darkness and evil. There's a lot of, it's actually a gift to be aware of what you can see. When you can see information for what it is, it's kind of like a gift. So I view the process that I've gone through and my wife went through with me, thankfully. We've become what we would say very enlightened to the understanding of this world, and I think they'd show it to us to show us there is simulation, there is premeditated outcomes. They're showing us that everything is planned, and they are preparing us for wealth. They know that there are some people that are going to become very wealthy, because I genuinely do believe, I agree with the sentiment, that there is going to be a Cambrian explosion of liquidity into the crypto markets. There is no doubt in my mind that digital money is the future of the way the world wants to work. And you can either fight it and go, Klaus Schwab, you're a World Economic Forum clown, do one, I don't want your digital money. Or you can say, okay, you know what, I'm not going to beat these guys. Where the hell am I going to get an army to beat these guys? I'm not. I can go down on the street and expel all my energy and shout at a brick wall of my local parliament, but they're just puppets. So what's the point? I might as well sit at home, do some research, understand what they're showing me, and use my energy to get in the game, get wealthy. And what will happen when I'm wealthy and I have esoteric understanding, I am cool and calm, I'm neutral, and if I'm a wealthy man, what can I do? Well, I can do a little good, can't I? I can do a little good. I can change the world, potentially. And it's not just going to be me, it's going to be all of you, because you're on this journey too. And if you want to go and buy Lamborghinis when you're rich, that's fine. But part of this is about learning wealth management. It's about learning what's really important. And to me, I'm completely not interested in things anymore. Even if XRP mooned tomorrow and I was a multi-millionaire, I just wouldn't even bother going and buying a watch. I wouldn't bother going and buying a new car. It just doesn't interest me. But what I will buy is comfort. I will buy a nice house. I will buy myself the ability to travel through the world, give my children experiences and myself experiences that I could only dream of, and I will use the time to learn and educate. And when I think that we've got to a point where XRP has done what it needs to do, and whether it's a long time from now, I don't know, but I suspect in the grand scheme of things, it could be. For insane money, I think it could be a while from now. But yeah, I think that's what it's for. I think they are preparing us mentally and emotionally for future wealth and future leadership to some degree in our own little worlds.
So you mentioned being a Freemasonry. Did you ever go join a lodge yet?
No, it's not something that ever came my way. I've never been invited by anybody. I have met a couple since. I met a guy who was a third degree Mason. He thought it would be something where he'd get a lot of connections for his business. I don't think he's really sort of the right guy that they would have been looking for esoterically, in my assessment of him now. But nevertheless, he's a third degree, and once you're a third degree, you can't leave, apparently. But you can leave, but you can't be kicked out. But it's not for everyone. I don't think being a Mason is necessarily a requirement of the future. I was saying earlier, I think a lot of our Discord communities are full of people who think like me, and maybe some that don't think quite like me, not quite as down the rabbit hole, but nevertheless, they're in a lot and aware of a lot. And I think our Discord communities will be internet equivalents of lodges, for example, without the formal setup that a lodge would particularly have.
Man. Appreciate the questions. I hope maybe it helped with a bit of clarity. Light, you were next.
I got one more for you. So what's the most mind-blowing thing that you stumbled across that said, holy shit, this
Yeah, no worries, man. Appreciate the questions. I hope.
What's that one light bulb moment, if you will? Something that you can tangibly say and grasp and point to, or
maybe it helped with a bit of clarity.
Actually, I got one more for you. So what's the most mind-blowing thing that you stumbled across that said, holy shit, this is something for real? You know what I mean? Like, what's that one light bulb moment, if you will? Something that you could tangibly say and grasp and point to, or, something that was like, whoa, do you have anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Other than a lot of the C19 things that I can decode inside and out in terms of seeing some correspondence. If we just want to talk about riddles or people within the riddles, Mr. Poole, he posted a load of black swans over the last few years. One of them was exactly 589 days before the Queen passed. A few of the others are linked with the way I can decode using time and the data within his post. I also linked to her coronation, the date she became queen on 6th of February, and also further dates linking to her death. And that was the moment that blew me away. You might say, oh, what's the deal with the black swan? She was the keeper of swans in the UK. She, owns her, the royals and her. She had a particular thing where they owned swans in great quantities. I don't know the exact sort of details, but it was very, very, very prominent. So, that was one of the biggest, literally to the day. And then just to sort of link in the CV thing, she died 911 days from lockdown. So the 9/11, again, another ritualistic process. And lockdown was 888 days, which is another well-known number used in these riddles, from the day that Trump said there is a storm coming. So he said there's a storm, 888 days later, Corona hit. That was the storm, 2-3 year storm. The day after Boris in the UK said, oh, that's enough, we're not doing Corona anymore, screw it. The very next day, the Ukraine war went boom, oh, we're having a war. It's like, fuck me, a day. One day, come on. And then, of course, Queenie died 911 days after lockdown. So, they're revealing that everything's a simulation. I'm seeing that everything's a simulation. A lot of the accounts I follow just, you know, some great decoders of time, and yeah, there's a whole rabbit hole if you want to go and find it.
So what are you saying when you're saying everything's a simulation? What are you trying to say by that? Like, so what happens when you die, and what happened before you were born? And is like, what's life then?
That's a deep thing. There's two elements of simulation. One, simulated by the controllers, so they are either making events happen on certain days, or making events happen certain days because either they know that they follow a lot of astronomy. The eclipses have a very big ritualistic part to play. I don't know the full circumstances, but you know, there is a lot that clearly they can plan to happen at a certain time, which would create a certain reaction that they would desire. And then the second element of simulation is that I have found, even in my own life, when I did wake up in 2021, I decoded my own life with my grandfather, and there was just some crazy synchronizations between when I did things in my life to when things happened in his life and his wife's life, my grandmother. And like, I'm not going to bore you guys with it today, but I am more than satisfied that it would seem that my own life, which is probably why I've fallen down this rabbit hole and doing what I'm doing now, that my own life is mathematically simulated to my grandfather, who died 5 or 6 years before I was born. And it's, you know, insane to me. I look at it and go, that's crazy.
I'm saying that I believe.
Cool. Well, it's a pleasure chatting to you. You want to come back in a bit and have a chat? No dramas. Light XRP, would you like to speak, bud?
But I believe that could be a significant period.
Okay, so let me just see if I understand your timeline correctly. So you're saying that you think the big boom is going to happen in April of 24.
I'm saying that I believe, based on what I already mentioned, you're obviously listening, that I believe that could be a significant event or period. I don't know definitely whether it means XRP is going to boom, but there seems to be a lot of correlation to that period of time, because the solar eclipse is 2 days later on the 8th of April, and they're using a lot. There's a lot of references to that as well. You see the great X in the maybe you've seen the astrology, where the two eclipses move across the sky and make an X. The 2017 and the 2024 they make an X. So I do think it's probably good news for XRP.
So do you think, I don't know if you follow ExtraBot, I watch his videos. He seems to do a good job of kind of wrapping up, the daily events and whatnot, but he still seems to think there's a big crash coming. I don't know if I believe that. What do you think? Do you think there's a big crash before XRP booms? Or do you think we're over that already?
My belief on, so let's take you back to 2022. Are you a big follower of Bearable Guy?
Look at my picture.
Remember that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I see it now. So 2021 Christmas scene. He posted himself looking at the fireworks, and under his feet there's a little bottle with a sunshine on it. Remember that?
Yeah. The one that says regulations? Or regulations on it, right?
No, persevere, I think it says.
Okay. Yeah, I remember.
Cool. So, well, let me go back even further. I've tweeted this before and I talked about this before, but I'll go back further. So, in Lodestar 3, the very end of Lodestar 3, which I think you need to read Lodestar 3 in reverse to get what's going on. He reveals, it talks about So basically, if you go on the mobile app, it gives you a banner which says "Be greedy when others are fearful, and be fearful when others are greedy." So it's basically saying, take profits when his market's going nuts, and when the market's in fear, buy it. And this was in 16th of December 2019. He said this. Okay, so throughout this entire period, we have been in the persevere time via the lawsuit and just the market being down. Now, when he said sun, he said something about sun and blue skies. Well, thank God for the opportunity to buy XRP. I can't remember the exact wording, but something about
I know the phrase. Yeah.
So 3
when the
months.
bear looks up at the beautiful golden sun and blue skies and thanks God for the chance to buy XRP.
Boom! Yeah, that's it. That's the one. So I'm absolutely certain that I nailed the interpretation of this one. Now, it's a little bit out of the box, but it's not out of the box, if you understand the language. So 2 months, 23 days later, after that tweet, you understand the significance of the 322 or reverse 223, lockdown happened. What did we get in the market? 2 days later, extreme fear. Now, what was his message? Buy the fear. So, Corona hit 11 cents XRP, and anybody who'd been smart and up for it and not in fear bought that dip and bought it handsomely. Okay, so why was his clue to that? Well, one, it was 2 months, 23 days after, but also the sun is the corona. Okay, the sun has a corona. The money, or the crown is the corona. Everything. You look at the language of those elements. That all means the sun. So I know that's deep. And that tells you, wow, he knew that was coming. Well, I think he did. Yeah, I do think he knew that was coming. And this is part of the simulation that I'm telling you about to understand and grasp. So sun being the first element, that was the very first buying opportunity. The second one came days after the lawsuit, where we hit a new low. Now, what is securities fraud in America? What's called the blue sky law. Well, there's your second element of sun and blue skies. Blue skies, fear in the markets, buy it, is what he said. Now, I wasn't around to understand that then in the game, but reverse engineering allows you to look back and figure it all out. So that was his second element. The third element, which came after the April 14th high, that would have been an opportunity of people are feeling greedy. That would have been an opportunity to take some profits. And there were plenty of people in the community, including David Schwartz, who said it's probably a great time to take some profits off the table. And he said it pretty much that day. So they are helping us. They have been helping us throughout, and hopefully they will continue to help us. So anyway, that was the profit. The next sun that came along was on the 18th of June 2022, where two facets here. It was the very, very first day of a month called Sol. Now, there's another calendar, which is why I talked about calendars earlier. There's another calendar called the International Fixed Calendar. And it's a 13-month calendar, 28 days for each month. And it runs pretty much in line with our Gregorian calendar. Now, that has 13 months in it, and the 22nd day of the 13th month, so 1322, in that calendar is Christmas Eve. And when does the bear post? The bear posts, or has posted, 3 years in a row on the 24th of December. So that's our 1322 in relation to that calendar. So we know to look at that calendar for Sol. So what was Sol? 18th of June, that's when it begins. If you look, just do a Google search later on, you'll see how that all works.
You mind if I let me just kind of add something quick here, since you mentioned the blue skies and the golden sun. So what's interesting is the Palau's national flag is literally a blue background with a golden sun. And they just announced now that the test pilot is live for the CBDC, and we are entering Seoul. So do you think we possibly could have been talking about this moment?
Well, I mean, if you let's look at the price. Price dictates everything. Did you buy 11 cents, or were you waiting? I'm not saying you, but if you were waiting for this riddle, and I know that a certain member of our community has been alluding to that it means X or it means Y, but never has alluded to the points I'm trying to say. And what are you waiting? I mean, XRP is 70 cents. You'd have preferred to buy it at 11, right? So that doesn't make any sense to me that it would be now. It would be totally. You want to be taking the opportunities that are the lowest price of XRP.
And it's not the summer of
fair enough.
28
but,
cents.
Okay. Sorry, continue with your point earlier.
Yeah, no worries. Well, I appreciate I'm babbling. Feel free to jump in. I mean, not to say that 70 cent XRP might still be incredibly cheap, but it's not 11 cent. It's not the lawsuit low of 17 cents, and it's not the summer of 2022 28 cents. They were all far greater opportunities of sun and blue skies, and that's why I think that's what that meant. But moving on from that, you asked me about
my question was, do you think there's going to be a massive crash before the price moves? Do you think that's...
Yes, and my answer needed that context because I believe the bottom of the market, and I said it all year last year, I said it to everybody, was the 28th, the 18th of June, and that has remained so. And the reason, and the extra reason I think that, is because underneath the bear's feet was a bottle, had a sunshine on it, and it was called Persevere. Now, the bottle of sun is the bottle of soul. Is the very day he's telling you, under his feet, the bottom of the bear market is going to be the bottle of Sol. What day is Sol? 18th of June. That's exactly when XRP hit 28 cents. So I think in that 2021 scene, he's telling us where the bottom is for us to buy. And the following year, he releases his level playing field poker table, the Knights of the Round Table. There's no suggestion that there, to me, there is another opportunity to buy at that kind of price. I think it's just that we are out of time. You've run out of time to buy cheap XRP. And I think when the bear...
for past, like, you don't think XRP will have another dump, basically? Like, it should stabilize here. But my question was kind of like globally, not just XRP. Like, do you think we're going to have a big global crash? Like, you think that's still coming?
Yeah, I think that's highly probable. I don't think the stock market has crashed enough. Or in fact, I don't think it has at all. I think Bitcoin needs to crash significantly at some point. I think that could happen when it gets to 93% of its distribution. Which is, I think I worked out to be around about October, which is funny enough, works out with my other bits and bobs. But that's not for definite. I do think there is an overall market crash. If there is going to be some kind of cyber event, well, that's going to screw everything up. And so could it affect XRP? Yeah, it could do. But if there is that opportunity, I get the feeling that we won't be buying it at that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so the reason why I asked that question is because it has to do with the next presidential election, right? So the next presidential election in the U.S. is 2024, which means the winner would take office 2025,
Yeah,
right? So
I agree.
in
And
my
that's why Biden's
opinion,
in charge.
I believe if
Because
Trump gets
Biden is
back into
highly
office, which
unpopular.
is looking
He is
likely,
the
I
guy
don't
with the
think he
mask
will
on,
allow a crash like that to
who is
occur.
deliberately
So I think whatever needs to
ridiculous,
happen
bumbling,
pretty much needs to
and
happen before
falling
he
all over
gets
the
into
place,
office.
and doesn't look like a man in control. And that's why it will happen on his watch.
Yeah, I agree.
Probably.
And that's why Biden's in charge, because Biden's highly unpopular. He is the guy with the mask on, who is deliberately ridiculous, bumbling, and falling all over the place, and doesn't look like a man in control. And that's why it will happen on his watch.
No, I
Probably.
don't think so either. I think
Right.
the solution,
So with
I think the
kind of with
solution
that
to
logic,
this
I would think that like,
to become prevalent,
you know, 2020, the rest of 2023 and
if not before,
2024, I think they kind of
April
have to
next
wrap
year.
up this
But I
plan.
think the
I don't
major stock
I
market
don't really
crash
see it going
happens
beyond
this year in the year of the
2025
skull
like
prospect.
maybe people are suggesting.
September, October time.
No,
If not
I
bleeding
don't
from August.
think so either. I think the solution to this starts to become prevalent, if not before, by April next year. But I think the major stock market crash happens this year, in the year of the skull and crossbones.
And
September, October time, if not bleeding from August.
then the other question I wanted to ask you is, do you think that, okay, because you said a significant of like thing should happen in April, whether it's price or whatever, but do you think we have several different moons like leading up to that date, right? Because there's a lot of things in the work, right? Like, you know, BRICS is potentially coming out with a competing bridge reserve
it's
currency.
interesting.
You know, you have like the whole Fed now stuff.
I don't believe.
So do you think
necessarily-
XRP could
I
potentially,
want to
you know,
desperately
hit maybe
believe in
$50,
the
$100
$1,000 XRP.
going
But I
into
think
the April
that's-
event,
let's
and
say, for
maybe
example,
April is like,
maybe down the line,
I don't know, 3 digits, 4
many
digits,
years
who knows,
from
and
now,
kind of
we
just
could see a price.
throwing things out
Maybe.
there.
I don't believe necessarily. I mean, I want to desperately believe in the $1,000 XRP hype, but I think that's, let's say, for example, maybe down the line, in many years from now, we could see a price maybe like that. There seems to be some suggestion that it could be viable, but there are obviously others that say that's ridiculous, it can never happen. Anyway, so what I think, in line with the very Masonic principles, I think the Riddlers take us to $13. I think, certainly listening to the insider analysts that are doing a very good job, they're preparing the mines for $13 and have been for the last 2 years. I think there's some opportunity for 22. Now, Ross van der Meer and whatnot, they've sort of said 2K, $1,000. Well, we've got to go back to the Romans again. The 1,000 in Roman terms is the letter M. And what number in the alphabet is M? It's 13. And Ross van der Meer's prediction of 2K, what is K? K is 11. Let's add it together. That makes 2, like 1 and 1 is 2. That could give us 22. Or the other way of looking at it is 2K. If K is 11, add the 2, you get 13. So I think the Riddlers are taking us to $13 and $22 only, and I think they'll be doing their damnedest to get us out, or the general population out, at that price. If that comes before April, then you have an idea that there could be more afterwards. So, I mean, I don't know.
Right. I kind of agree with you. Like, I don't, I think the 4 digits will be down the road. But okay, so you said 13. That's a good point made. Now, the thing is, like, I don't know, do you use gematria in your decodes?
Very, very rarely. I've not found it a good source of reliability.
Okay, because I think part of their way of thinking is they actually don't like consider 0 as an actual number, so they drop the zeros.
Yes, that's numerology. Yes, so they ignore the zeros. So yes,
Right. Is it possible the Riddlers could have said 13, but there could be a zero after it. You just drop the zero. Like, what if it's 130? What if it's 1300? I don't know. But anyways, the reason why I think like it could get to $100 is simply, I mean, I know people don't like to use the word market cap because it doesn't really apply to utility, but I mean, $5 trillion brings us to $100, right? And that's not a lot of money that's expected to flow into crypto. So I don't know.
No, I agree. I think there will be a Cambrian explosion, which is exponential rise and an exponential explosion of liquidity in crypto, and those of us who are in early will reap those benefits. From every source of information I listen to, from all the esoterics, from some of the religious prophets, for everybody who, even the so sensible, level-headed people, think there is going to be quite an explosion of liquidity into crypto at some point in the near future, next 1 to 2 years. So I don't doubt there could be a very, very good price coming to XRP down the road. Now, a reason I think it could be much longer for like the 4 figures, there was a video called Progress by XRPP a long time ago, and that character was goes on talking about a scene where he's using XRP to buy printed livers or printed hearts, I think it is, and the equivalent price of a printed heart, something like $30,000. And he was using 1 XRP to do it, but he was a very old man in the story, and I believe he is depicted on the poker table as a young man on BG 123 scene from 2022. So I think that value could take a long time to get to.
Well, that's a good point. However, XRP was made like what, 12 years ago? So from 12 years ago, and let's say it takes another 10 years to hit 4 digits, I would say that's enough time to go from a young man to an old man, 24 years, sort of. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, I wanted to say, okay, so Howard Moon today posted a picture of a sun. I guess he's, kind of alluding to Sol. But Mr. Poole, a little while ago, actually posted a date, and I think it was August 11, 2023. And that was his tweet. He just posted that date. And, like, has anyone actually decoded what that date meant or stood for?
Well, who's to say anyone's going to be right until they are right? But there's a couple of things that aligns. If you heard my bit about the 24th of August? I mean, let's start with Mr. Poole never means what he says he means necessarily. So what is 8/11? It could be a time on a clock. Which
was that the right date though? Like, do you know what tweet I'm talking about? I might have mixed up the date. That's what I think it was.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, that happens to be the 223rd day of the year, so that's a very sort of Masonic number for a start. But yeah, he did tweet that. But most people look at that and go, "Oh, that's the day of the moon." Of course, that isn't. It's just a clue, and it could mean anything. It could be him saying, "Look at." Maybe pay attention on that day for a new tweet, and then you need to correlate the relationship between the new tweet and when he posted the 8/11, for example, and then you'll find a relationship between the time, and you go, okay, so now what does it mean? It could be the fact that it's 13 days behind the day I was talking about at the start of the start of the space. 8/24 being a significant date in August. 13 days behind is in line with the Julian calendar, which we know has been used and referenced by David Schwartz and co. many times. Could mean that. Could mean.
What do you think? Do you think it potentially could be Project Sandman? Have you heard about that?
Well, I haven't heard of those, but what I do know is that a lot of these riddles, they have multiple meanings. You know, you can look at one and come up, three different people can come up with very valid, great
Well, okay,
explanations.
so Project Sandman is basically the BRICS plan to dump all their U.S. Treasury bonds at the same time and crash the US dollar. And they were saying that they were thinking about doing that in August. And I'm just wondering if Fool's Post was maybe in connection to that, possibly. Um, I don't know. I still think BRICS has an important role to play here. I mean, like, things are moving pretty quickly with BRICS and Russia signing their crypto bill, and I think Putin wants to go on a CBDC. You know, I think the whole point of BRICS is to rush the timeline. And it seems a bit interesting to me that, you know, we get XRP gets clarity, and then not even like 2 weeks later,
Yeah, you know
now
what? No,
government
BRICS
is
is
rushing to
without
get
doubt going to
crypto
play a
laws
massive,
passed.
massive part in it. And it could already be
Like
like
at the same
the
time
back
that
end
BRICS is
solution.
getting ready to come out
Because
with
you know
their
it's
reserve
they
currency
use the
and
war
possibly try
to
to dump the dollar.
disguise
Just,
the fact that Russia and
Yeah,
China
you know
do
what? No, BRICS
making it
is
look
without
like the
doubt is going
bad
to play a
guys,
massive, massive part
but
in
when
it,
in fact
and
it
it could
could be
already be like
a
the back
highly
end solution.
involved
You know, it's
element of our
they use the war
future system.
to disguise
And it wouldn't surprise me if they dump bombs
the
on
fact that
8/11 too.
Russia and co are
It could be
doing
the
it,
exact date that
making
they
it
do
look
it,
like the bad
being the
guys, but
222nd
when
day,
in fact it
223rd
could
day of the
be
year.
a highly
Very ritualistic
involved
day, entirely
element of our
possible.
future system. And it wouldn't surprise me if they dump bombs on 8/11 at all. It could be the exact date that they do it, being the 222nd day,
Yeah, no worries. I was
223rd
just
day of
saying,
the
yeah,
year.
I agree that it could be
Ritualistic day,
one of those
entirely
days because it's the
possible.
223rd day of the year. It could be one of
sorry
those
about
days
that. What was the last thing you heard me say? I
that
got a phone
is
call and it
very,
cut
very
off my
vital
Twitter
for something
Spaces.
like you said, like the bonds being dumped on that day. That's a very good
Yeah, no
suggestion.
worries. I was just saying, yeah, I
I'm
agree
sure
that
the
it
33
could be
trillion debt
one of
market
those
will be
days because it's the
a lot closer
223rd
to
day of the
33
year.
trillion
It
by
could
then.
be one of those days that is very, very vital for something like you said, like the bonds being dumped on that day. That's a very good suggestion. I'm sure the 33 trillion debt market will be a lot closer to 33 trillion by then as well.
Yeah, I was just saying I find it funny that like 1 week after the XRP wins, that Congress is rushing now to get these crypto bills in place, and they're specifically focusing on stable coins and payment processing tokens. So, and basically, you know, going back to BG's picture, like you stated, he made it very clear that regulations needed to be in place. So what I'm wondering is if the House is rushing right now to get all these things signed, so that in August, when BRICS does do Project Sandman, or you know, comes out with their reserve currency competitor, that they have a solution ready, and it might be XRP. So maybe, you know, FedNow's in place, they're ready to go. Maybe we do get a little. Like Percy, dude,
Yeah,
I've packed my
and
bags. I'm comfortable with where I'm
I
at.
think
Like,
you're right on all of that. And I wanted
if
to add,
XRP
you
goes to
know,
like double
I
or three
think
digits, I'd be pretty happy,
globally,
and I wouldn't mind
crypto
waiting, you know,
isn't
five,
going to be
10 years
the
for
popular
it to
choice
go even higher.
for most people.
That's kind of like
I
my
think they're going
thoughts.
to,
Yeah,
unless of
and
course there is
I mean, I think you're right on all of that. And
cataclysmic
I
event
wanted to add,
that
you know, I think
creates
globally,
people to
crypto
want crypto,
isn't going to be the popular
services,
choice
or you know,
for
most
most
people
people.
don't even know
I think they're going to,
how
you
the
know,
back end works.
unless of course
If you
there
look,
is
what I find very
a
interesting,
catalytic
if you
event
look at
that
America and UK specifically,
creates people to, you know, want
Biden signed the
crypto
executive order
services,
back on the
or
9th
you
of
know,
March
most people probably won't even know what
2022,
crypto
which
is
I
and
highlighted that
how the
this
back end works. But
terrible
if
guy
you look, what I find
had
very
mentioned
interesting
when he talked
is if you
about
look
open
at
elections.
America and
But
UK
also we just had
specifically,
the king on the 29th
um,
of
you
June
had Biden sign the
signing
executive order
the
back
crypto
on the 9th of
regulations
March
in the UK.
2022, which I highlighted that was
Those two people aren't
Bearable
popular.
Guy had
He is not going to be
mentioned
king
when he
at all.
talked about regulations.
And neither
But
is
also, we
Biden.
just
So
had
to
the king
me,
on the
that statement
29th of June
for
signing
whatever's going through, and I
crypto
don't think
regulations
they'll be
in
in a
the UK.
position when
Those two people
when it all
aren't
goes
popular.
down and
He is not a
he comes
popular
on.
king at
I
all,
think they've signed already all the
and neither
legislation
is
they need,
Biden. So to me,
and they're
they're
quite cleverly with
scapegoats
those two in place.
for, you know, whatever's going through, and I don't think they'll be in position when, you know, when it all goes down and the solution comes along. I think they've signed all the legislation and orders, you know, quite cleverly with those two in post.
No, I think you're right, man. And, you know, even the House, they're trying to impeach Biden also. So, like, you know, assuming Biden might be gone in the next few months, like, it does put a bit of an urgent feeling on, you know, the timeline of things. And I'm not saying XRP is going to be 4 digits in August. I'm just saying that, like,
Yes, exactly.
at least the collapse portion of it, I feel like is probably
I
coming soon,
genuinely believe we are on the precipice of
right? Because like, if
world
Biden's supposed to be the fall
liquidity
guy
crisis,
before
or
they
at least an
impeach him,
American
I'm
liquidity
assuming they need
crisis.
this shit to kind of go down.
That is, if you're
Yes,
into
exactly.
predictive programming, films and bits and bobs,
I genuinely
rabbit hole I
believe
love
we
going
are
down.
on the precipice
Every
of
single
a world
it's a bit schizo, but
liquidity
literally, I
crisis,
watch
or at
tons
least an
of
American
kids' movies
liquidity
with my
crisis.
kids, and other kind
That
of normal
is,
stuff.
if you're into your
Literally
predictive
every
programming
film
via films and
contains
bits and bobs, and that
this
is one
liquidity
rabbit hole I love
crisis,
going
you know,
down.
big
Every
tidal wave,
single,
pipes
it's a bit
bursting in
schizo, but
Mario.
literally, I watch
And
tons
it
of
sounds crazy,
kids'
but
movies with my
they're all
kids,
portraying it. This is how they
and
send
other
their
kind of normal
messages
stuff.
of what's to come.
Literally every film
It's happening.
contains
The liquidity
this
crisis is going to
liquidity
happen,
crisis, like,
and I
you know,
think it
big
happens this
tidal
year
wave,
with the rabbit.
pipes bursting in Mario.
Definitely happens.
I know it sounds crazy, but they're all portraying it.
So
This is
then
how
shit
they
hits the
send their
fan.
messages of what's
Yeah,
to come.
then we need a solution.
It's happening.
It's a case
The
of how
liquidity
long does it
crisis
take
is going to
for
happen.
that solution
And
to
I think
come.
it happens this year, the year of the rabbit, the year of the cat. Definitely happens this year. So then the shit hits the
Yeah,
fan. Yeah, then we need a solution. It's just a case of how long does it take for that solution to arrive.
well, you know, another thing that's very interesting too is this whole Palau stablecoin that just went live, right? Because this stablecoin they're testing. So Palau's national currency is the United States dollar. So my thoughts is they're actually using this as a test pilot for a United States backed CBDC. So if they're planning to, like, kind of collapse the markets, which is likely, we just saw another big bank fail this week, the Pac Bank. Um, and Biden might be out in a couple months out of office. BRICS going live with their CBDCs and possibly Project Sandman in August. You know,
Yeah, I do too. I think Biden could
I don't think,
be gone soon.
like, I hate this, like,
Could be
I
gone in
don't want to
August.
do predictions, but, you know,
That
I
was
don't know,
in,
man. I think something
you know,
big
close to
happens this
9/11.
year,
I
kind of
actually
before
think we see 9/11
2024.
ritualized again. And I don't mean another two towers.
Yeah, I do
Right.
too. I think Biden
It's
could be
literally
gone
20
soon.
years from that.
Could be gone in
I think.
August.
I've seen a hell of a
Maybe,
lot of
you know, close to
9/11
9/11. I actually think we
Mr.
see
Paul,
9/11 ritualized
and
again. And I don't mean another
films.
two towers being knocked down,
I
but
think there's going to be a
it's
lot of
literally
blood in the
22
markets and
years
a lot of
from
people,
that
and I think
event.
we're really good.
I've seen a hell of a lot of 9/11 symbology from Mr. Poole, and in films. I think there's going to be a lot of blood in the market
I've
soon.
heard that said.
A lot of it, you
I've
know, and I
not seen
think
a lot of
we're
research on it. I did look for it, but
9/11 is,
I
correct
imagine
me if
that's
I'm wrong, but
probably
isn't
true
9/11
because
like the true
the
birthday of
mince pie.
Jesus
I
Christ
noticed last
also?
year the mince pies came out on the Sainsbury's shelves on 9/11.
Yes, I've heard that
So
said.
I did think
I've
to
not seen a
myself,
lot of
it
research
must
on
be
it. I
true.
did look
You know,
for it,
bringing
but
out the mince pies already.
I
It
imagine
must be
that's
Christmas.
probably true because the mince pie. I noticed last year the mince pies came out on the Sainsbury's shelves on 9/11. So I did think to myself, it must be true. You know, they're bringing out the mince pies already. It must be Christmas.
Do you think, here's like a little bit, okay, so I'll get past that part. Do
Good
you think
question.
the whole Riddlers, this whole game plan with XRP,
Again, this is
etc.,
tussle
do
with
you think
the
this is
dark
coming
and
from
light of
the good people in
Probably,
power,
I
or is
mean,
this
you
coming
want to
from the
think
dark people in
that these are
power?
good. Yeah, I mean, you know, let's
Good
just try and
question.
be optimistic. I don't think.
Again,
I think
there's
there
this
must be a
tussle
little
with
bit of
the
crossover
dark and light of
somewhere along the way. You know,
people.
to be, you
Probably,
can't be good
I mean,
without
you
bad,
want to
and you
think
can't be bad
that
without
these are
good.
good.
I think that's the universal law. I think they
Yeah,
understand that.
I mean, you know,
I
let's
certainly
just
come
try and
to
be
understand
optimistic.
that.
I don't think.
But
I think
essentially,
there must
yes,
be a little
I
bit of
think
crossover
they're looking
somewhere
for
along the way. You know, they can't be
new
good
people,
without bad, and they
the
can't be bad
wealthy,
without good. I think that's the
real
universal
wealth,
law. I think
the
they
wealthy
understand
stuff,
that.
the fresh
I've certainly
minds
come
with,
to understand that.
you know, who are nice and
But
genuine and
essentially,
feel
yes,
the
I
kind of
think there
brotherhood.
they're looking for new people, the wealthy, new wealth, the wealthy start of fresh minds with, who are nice community feel, the kind of brotherhood. Let's hope that that's what this is all about, because mostly we're all good, and you wouldn't have evil people targeting good people, would you? Wouldn't make a lot of sense.
It just kind of bugs me when like I see like Baba, for example. Like I like Baba, but like he always refers to like the satanic part of things, and it kind of bugs me. I'm hoping that this entire plan is being orchestrated by good people, and that regular people are completely enslaved further than they already are.
Yeah, well, with regard to Baba doing that, what that truly is just a little bit more education, and this is not to put anyone down. Even I'm still learning, but what I understand is those signs and the symbology behind them, like the Lucifer element. Lucifer is known as the light bringer. It's not necessarily some dark demonic entity that's that involves light. Lucifer is the sun. It's just the day when the day begins, we start to see the sun, and Lucifer is depicted as the sun, and it gets all entwined because they want it to be entwined in scary stuff, because they don't want normal folk understanding the universal laws, the esoteric laws of energy and light, and what it means to bring light to the table. So when he's talking about Moloch, and Moloch is more of a clue to Taurus, and probably an astrological reference rather than child sacrifice. But of course he is playing a role, without doubt, that he is here to entertain you and divide you and make you emotional. He's playing the role perfectly. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a with benefits role. He is a supreme actor in that sense. So I wouldn't get too hell-bent on all that, because there is actually, take the number 666. To most people, it defines the devil, but really, it's an incredibly wonderful mathematical number that actually defines a lot about mathematical universe, and is a very energetic, vibrant number. I can't explain it in full, but there's some, when you get into
right. There's certain numbers, like power numbers.
It doesn't mean what we've been taught that it means.
Like the Pentagon has 5 sides to it, but 5 is like the number of death, right? So that's why they use these type of numbers. What I could think be possible too is that, let's say this is orchestrated by the good people in power, and the reason why they use some of these dates is because they want to take back control of these numbers. So they want certain things to happen on some of these dates that end up becoming a good thing for humanity. It's possible.
But this is where there's a lot of crossover. I think the date energy is a real thing. You take 9/11 to lockdown; it was 222 months. Well, where did you see 222 mentioned? 222. That was on the board behind a certain CEO at one time. So I think the numbers are used by all of them, and that's where the crossover is confusing, and that's where you have to sort of start going, okay, I understand this is like a power battle on both sides, and they're all using these universal laws.
Right, and they're fighting for control. They're fighting for control over the financial system, but also they're fighting for control over these numbers, because you're right, when 9/11 happened, that was the dark side taking control of that date, and taking control of that power number. So, assuming that this is coordinated by you know,
I do actually steer away from
do you
the
think that
good and
the
the
two
bad
factions
Masons,
of the Masons, like
because
the good
I
Masons and the
think
bad Masons, do you think
I
they
think we've got
control
some,
the world,
different
or do you
levels.
think
I think
there's
there's
more
5 different
factions
levels of Masons.
with power?
I don't. I think
Huh.
there's a lot more
Well,
common
I do actually
ground
steer away from the good
to what
and
they
the
do.
bad
I
Masons
don't. I just
because
don't
I
know how deep
think
the rabbit hole goes with it.
look,
But
I
I
think you've
imagine
got some
it goes
different
way higher
levels.
than
I think that's why
Mason.
they have the levels of
And I'm
Masons.
not talking like third
I
degree
don't. I think there's a
both sides
lot
of
more
anything got a
common
clue.
ground
Probably
to what
most
they do.
33-degree
I don't.
Masons
I
don't have
just don't know
actual
how
clue. There's
deep the rabbit hole goes with it,
a
but I
lot
imagine
of
it goes way
control
higher
over
than
above all of that.
Masons.
But
And I'm not talking like
I
third
think
degree
I think they
lodge
want us to
Masons. They
believe
haven't
there
got
is
a
this good
clue.
and this bad side.
Probably
But
most
when in
33-degree
fact, I
Masons don't
think
have much of a clue.
at
There's
the
probably
very top of
a
what it is
lot
we have
of
is a
control
very,
way
very, very
above all
well
of that.
orchestrated
But
conquer, divide
I
and
don't think
conquer
there is. I think they want us to believe there is
where
this good
actually
and this bad
everything
side.
is one big
And
plan.
when
You look
in
at how
fact,
the
I
world
think
the world's leaders came
at the
together
very top of
for
whatever we
lockdown.
have
Just
is a very,
suddenly
very, very
overnight,
well
all friends,
orchestrated
every single
divide
motherfucking
and
one of them,
conquer
all saying build back
strategy,
better,
where
and you must do
actually
this. And build back better,
everything
what's that
is
mean?
one big plan. I mean, you look at
222.
how the
How many
world
months
the
from
world's leaders
9/11?
came together
222.
for
They were
lockdown.
all using it.
Just suddenly
So
overnight, they're
this
all
is not
friends. Every
this
single
is not
motherfucking one of them, all saying build
a
back better,
good and
and
bad.
you
I
must
mean,
do this.
politicians
And
are
build back better, what's that
necessarily
mean?
like any of them, but
222. How
I
many
think
months from 9/11?
there
222.
has to
They
be
were all
the
using it.
universal law. There
So
has to be darkness
this is
for
not
there to be light. That's what I
a
understand.
good and bad. I mean, the
It's
politicians
quite a morally
necessarily, I wouldn't trust any of them, but
place to
I
grasp.
think
But I just
I think there has to be the universal law. There has to be darkness for there to be light. That's what I understand.
Right.
It sounds it's quite a morally difficult place to grasp, but I just I think I can see that in my own life. Something bad will happen, and I think fuck, but then something good can't come out of it. So I think that just exists now. How anybody in their right mind could quantify doing 9/11 and whatever actually happened on that day, and there's a lot of theories. How anybody in their sane mind could quantify doing that. Nevertheless, it was done and it's been ritualized, and it seems to be one of the standing sort of standpoints where you could measure everything from. And so whether the good and the bad were both involved in that, I don't know. I just don't know how it manifests, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting because like Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz, they both follow Mr. Poole and Terrible Guy on Twitter. Do you think it's reasonable to suggest that Brad and David know who those riddlers are?
David's a smart cookie.
I think it's reasonable to suggest.
Let's just look back to 1988.
Reasonable to consider
1988, he created that patent.
They might.
I'm not the expert on exactly
More so with David, but I mean, obviously David works with Brad, so David's a smart cookie. He started. Let's just look back to 1988.
Yeah.
1988, he created the patent. No, I'm not the expert on exactly what it is. Sort of suggestive of some of the technology we have now. So if it was, all the way back in 1988 that he was thinking of these things, and there was another smart guy as well. I forget his name off the top of my head, but he was doing bits and bobs back then. I think all of this has been well in plan for a very, very long time. But you probably don't follow my decodes very much. But one of the 713 decodes that I looked back on, which when I was looking at Brad, when he was telling a story, and he used all the number symbolism from 9/11 to tell his story. He talked about 2 and 1 and 7 in this clever little story. Which is, highly relevant to the order that the towers went down. So even he's, giving us this key symbology, saying this is what we're, I don't know, ritualizing, but this is part of the history, and these are some of the number energies that we are aligned to. you know, and I just think it's all, I think it's all part of that esoteric, ritualized element, whether it's the Rosicrucians, the Masons, whatever groups they're in. I think that esoteric education they're trying to teach us is necessary to understanding the breakdown of what came before and what is to come in the future.
Well, it looks like me. I mean, Mr. Paul.
Well, I think Bearable Guy is a good person. I don't know about Mr. Poole.
Yeah,
Mr. Poole is
must be linked.
he might be he's a weird fellow. Or do you think they're one and the same?
What they believe is that
His first tweet was literally rearranging the Bearable Guy Christmas scene, so you know, must be similar, must be linked.
So part of me is like, okay, are these
So like I know part of this sort of cult, what they believe is that they believe that karmically it is okay for them to do stuff to us if they give us a heads up, right? So part of me is like, okay, are these riddles kind of their way of balancing karma by giving us a heads up of what's to come? This way, they karmically clear themselves of their wrongdoings.
Yes, the karmic.
Or the other way to look at it is, okay, are these riddlers actually just good people, and they want us to succeed through this transfer of wealth?
TV and cartoons. If you've seen
well, that's twofold. So yes, the karmic element. So that's why. Let's take on a negative sense. There was a hell of a lot of predictive programming, TV and cartoons. I don't know if you've seen any of the little video clips that went around of 9/11 being predicted in cartoons from 1954 all the way up to the event. Some of the most notorious ones are in Back to the Future. So it was shown to be coming in all, you know, for 50 years, which is insane. But yes, that karmic element, they need to tell you in their story form before it happens. So there must be some sort of karmic debt relief going on there. And I think the same is happening now with XRP. We are being told it's an opportunity. If you don't get on the fucking train, well, you know, don't say I didn't tell you, because I told you. And then, you know, that's why I look to TV and film for a lot of the other programming. You know, there's a lot. Tell you what, that is school in itself. I could sit down and learn about what's coming just by watching a lot of the things on TV and film. It's insane what they put in them. But again, you go back to a film, think from 2022 Christmas called Spirited. It was the based on the Christmas song theme, and the amount of songs that are all about ripple and flipping the switch and doing a little good. That again is more predictive programming to say, get on the train because you're going to miss it otherwise. So they do the good and the bad predictive programming, that karmic relief.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
It's not just all bad.
Yeah. Have you seen the flag of Palau, by the way? Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Say that again.
The flag of Palau, like their national flag.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
It is quite interesting though how
there's no surprise.
Like the first CBDC to go live is the blue skies, and I guess it's actually a yellow full moon, slightly off centered on the left side. I guess it's not actually a sun. It's a moon. That is interesting.
Yeah, there's no surprise they were chosen because look at every Masonic image of Boaz and Jachin. The two pillars and then the stairway. What's at the top of the image? You have the blue skies, and on one side you have the sun, the other side you have the moon. There's no surprise. I mean, to be honest, every country, every organization that is anything has Masonic roots or these kind of roots, and they have a design, a flag design. They have an emblem or a name or a creation date linked back to these roots. So everything that is anything of power has these roots. So there's no surprise at all that they reflect.
Okay. I guess last question. I don't want to take up too much of the mic, although it's been a good conversation. The Riddlers have been very very active these past couple of weeks. Um, do you? That's unusual, right? Like they've been pretty idle for like the past 7 8 months, I'd say, and suddenly now they're all active. Howard Moon is posting often. BG posted. Mr. Pool's back, and Ripple Riddler I think posted. Do you think leading up to August being sold, Project Sandman, Mr. Pool's leaked there, whatever? I mean, do you think they're back for kind of a reason? Like, do you think maybe something does happen in August?
Yeah, I mean,
No, I'm not talking
I
about
hadn't
Moon, but
noticed that they were.
I think maybe
I mean,
more
they
of
are
a
certainly
collapse
active.
type
But
situation.
they have active
Or
periods
maybe
like
not
that.
collapse, but
If
who
Paul
knows?
can
Could be
go on
Moon, could
a
be
rampage
could
for
be
a few
whatever. What do you
weeks
think?
and then disappear
Why do you think they're
elsewhere.
back in full force?
And I think that's
Yeah, I mean,
just because the
I hadn't
time
noticed that they were. I mean,
is
they are
important
certainly
to them.
active,
Everything has to line up by
but
time.
they have active
So
periods like
it's
that.
not necessary,
You know,
I dare say, that
Mr.
you're
Paul can go
constantly
on
posting.
a rampage for a few
But
weeks
yeah,
and then
it
disappear off for a
could
while.
be a
And I
sentiment.
think that's just because the
And
time
as I
element
said at the start of this, I think
is important to them.
we did a
Everything has to
post on
line
it.
up by
If
time.
anybody's here,
So
my
it's
last
not
tweet
necessary, I
before I
dare
came on
say,
the
to be
Spaces
constantly
was a
posting.
big post about the
But yeah,
24th
you know,
of
it
August
could
and some
be
of the
a
links
sentiment.
that I had there. And I
And
think
as I
that
said at
that
the start
could
of this, I
be
think I just did a post on it
very
for anybody who's here. My
pivotal
last
day
tweet
where
before I came on the
there's some
Spaces
sort of
was a big
announcement
post about the 24th of August
with regard
and
to
some of the links that I
regulations.
had there. And I think that could
So
be
I think it could be
a very
I think it could be a
pivotal day where
yeah, I mean, I think
there's some sort of
if
announcement
we have seen
with
the
regard
start of a
to
liquidity
regulations.
crisis, like you say, maybe
Um,
on at 811,
so I think it
That's a
could
good
be.
point.
yeah,
Yeah,
if we see
Yeah, I think it could
could
be
be
a.
regulations.
liquidity
Yeah, I
crisis
mean, I think
around that time, or
if
anything
if we have
like that
seen
before the 24th of August,
the start of
then
the
you'd be damn
liquidity
sure,
crisis,
well, you're not
like you
damn
say,
sure,
maybe on at
but
8/11,
fairly confident that 24th of August
223rd day
could
of the
be
year, if we
the
see
start of that
um,
solution, the
a
announcement,
liquidity
right, we need
crisis start around that
regulators
time, or anything
to come
like
in
that
and
before the
start to
24th of
regulate.
August, then you can be damn
Or it
sure.
could just be
Well, you're not damn
an
sure, but
announcement, because
fairly
the
confident the
Ripple lawsuit
24th of August could be
hasn't entirely been
the
finished.
start of that solution, the
Um,
announcement,
so
right,
it could
we
be
need
a simple
regulations
announcement about that.
to
But I
come
do
in
think
and start to
it's
regulate.
going to be a pivotal,
Or
could
it
be
could just
a
be
pivotal
an announcement, you know, because
announcement
the
to do
Ripple
with
lawsuit hasn't
some
entirely
sort of
been finished.
regulatory change. That would make sense. Yes.
That could be just a simple announcement about that. But I do think it's going to be could be a pivotal announcement to do with some sort of regulatory change. That would make sense. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and it's pretty obvious now that the House is rushing to get regulations in place. Like I said, mostly for stable coins and payment utility tokens. So it seems like they are kind of preparing for something. I know FedNow is currently not doing cross-border payments; it's just domestic. But based on Chad's post, it looks like they are planning to go cross-border or do cross-border payments. And Ripple is ingrained in FedNow, even though XRP is not being used at the moment. When they do go
Yeah, no worries.
cross-border,
Thank you
XRP
for the
is
questions
most
and
likely to
adding
be used.
the bond element
So
to it as well.
all this stuff
That's
it does
very
seem
relevant.
pretty
I
aligned, I
definitely
will
think
say.
they're going to crash the
But with
system.
that, I
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
your
you. I really
time,
enjoyed the
and
conversation
thanks.
and
Give
the
someone else a
questions.
chance to speak.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for the questions
We
and
have
adding
got,
the
no,
bond element to it as well.
there was
I
another
think
guy
that's
still
very
there.
relevant. I
But
definitely
I
think they're
think
going
2
to crash the
hours,
system.
I'm pretty
Yeah, thank you. I
close
really
to
enjoyed the
ending, unless there's
conversation and
anybody
the
with a
questions.
last minute request who wants to speak. Maybe you want to say something, sir?
We have got. Oh no, he's disappeared. There was another guy who stepped up. But I think 2 hours. I'm pretty close to ending, unless there's anybody with a last minute request who wants to speak. Maybe you want to say something, Sir XRP?
Yeah, man. I'm just curious where, as a pre-novice
It's a
like
big rabbit
myself,
hole. Where do you
could
want to start?
look and find out if, like, the easiest way to kind of verify and kind of start going down this path, sort of a deal.
Do you mean just in terms of
Well,
verifying
it's a big rabbit hole. Where do you want to start?
Well, I don't know, the things that make the most sense, kind of. They're like tangible.
Yeah, do you mean like verifying the Riddlers?
Do you mean just?
I just want to say, can I just say quick, Sir XRP, I love you, man. Never change.
Find some of this knowledge, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure. So.
Yeah, do you mean like verifying the Riddlers?
Yeah.
I'll try and.
I mean,
we're just trying to find some of this knowledge. You know what I'm saying?
Some names of like esoteric accounts, but you've got.
Yeah, sure. So, if you're looking for the esoteric knowledge, I'll try and.
Americana bloke.
I'll try and send you some names of like esoteric accounts, but you've got people like.
It's good to just study Bearable Guy's post and his
Danny
account.
Arc,
his tweets up. So just sort of
Americana bloke. There's quite a few esoteric people to follow in terms of learning about that element. It's good to just study Bearable Guy's post and his reverse account. He's got a lot of his tweets up, so just sort of literally trawl through all of his tweets and read the article. If there's an article on it, read it. By all means, have a look on. Search through some of my posts for keywords like pillars, Jachim and Boaz, 9/11. And just trying to just trawl, follow. I think what it is, Twitter's an echo chamber. So I ended up at the beginning following quite a lot of people that just looked interesting, and it kind of just expanded. And so until you start following, the right people, you won't get exposed to that kind of information. So even if you're late in the game, it's not too late. Just start researching the Masons. On Google, try and understand a little bit.
I am a Mason.
I mean, do you feel like?
Oh, are you? Okay.
And
what? Do you mind telling us sort of what level you are?
Just 3.
Okay, cool. So how have you found that? That sort of. I mean, do you feel like you've learned much?
To be honest with you, man, I went there when I was like in my early 20s. And I just went through the pages with my buddy because I was curious about all this stuff. And then it just was a whole bunch of old dudes, and I got really bored and I haven't been back. So that's about as far as it went. Yeah, it was very uninteresting from what I did. It was just I walked in one day and just talked to a guy. And yeah, it was it. So to be honest, I pretty much learned nothing. Just went through the first couple of degrees, I guess, and then it was just. Like I'm talking old guys like carrying oxygen, old. So it wasn't really my thing. So yeah, that's if that makes any sense. That's all I saw from it. But maybe now that I'm older, I might go back and check it out. I don't know.
Whether it be new.
Well, this is the thing. I don't necessarily think the Masons is for everyone, but that's why I think these guys are trying to show us the bigger picture, is so that we know whatever friends and groups we form, whether it be new lodges, whether it just be our own online communities, that we are thinking in the right way, that we are connecting with the right kind of people, and that we expand our understanding of the world. And so, to what degree we do that, and that's again is up to us really, or whether it's predestined. And perhaps you joining as a Mason many years ago was just preparation for now. Maybe it will be something that sparks in you, and that's again the Masons and co. Like you say, their numbers are dwindling. They have just lots of old dudes, and like most clubs. People aren't interested in that kind of thing. So maybe there will be a group of us who are rich and enlightened and want to go, like everybody else.
Well, that was just it, man. My piqued my curiosity, right? You start seeing Mason everywhere, and I was like, okay, I see this sign downtown. I'm just going to go walk in there and check it out. And I know a lot of the guys in these rooms, they talk Mason this, Mason that. So just go check it out for yourself. That's what I did. I just walked in and He said, did the process. But at the time, I was in my early 20s, and I had no.
Yeah, but
I don't even know why I did it. It wasn't for a purpose, right? I was like, oh yeah, they're the Illuminati or whatever. That's what I was kind of thinking. And then when I got there, like, this couldn't be further from the truth. So I don't know. Maybe I should go back and see if there's anything else now.
That's why I
book, so
that's why I think the Masons. It isn't the answer. I think from what I know of them, what I know of what we are going through, I think we have been exposed to a level of knowledge and gnosis and understanding way higher than the third degree Mason. I think we are being exposed to high levels of esoteric knowledge here personally. Certainly that's what I've been exposed to. And we're almost being recruited straight to the top. We're not being recruited because I don't have anybody asking me to become a Mason, but it feels like that. We've gone down that path of knowledge and understanding, and no lodge in your local town is ever going to fulfill what it is we're going through here. It's just not going to cut the mustard. You're not going to go to a lodge and go, oh yeah, I resonate with this, because you're not. I don't think so. That is why I think our online communities who are aware and involved and exposed to all of this at a high resonance. That this is where I think our lodges will be, so to speak. Not that I want to be a Mason, but I think on those lines now.
Lovely. Nice to chat to you, pal. Take care.
Well, all right, man. Thanks for the chit-chatting. That was fun. I'm gonna head out. So, I followed you. So if you start one of these again, I'll probably pop in. I'll catch you later, brother.
Lovely. Nice to chat to you, pal. Take care.
Yeah. One last question before you end the space, if I may. Bit of a fun question. Have you introduced any of your real life friends to the riddles? And if so, what was their reaction?
This could mean
yeah, I show a few of my guys at work a few times. They all sort of mostly stand back with but a few of them have gone, well, that could mean this, and this could mean that. That's interesting. And they kind of see it, but a very, very put it at arm's length, with cautious undertone. But yeah, they've been intrigued by me mentioning it quite a lot, and they've all invested, not a great deal, but they've all invested and trusted me along the way. But yeah, no, I've not managed to get anybody else other than my wife into.
Has any of their opinions changed after Ripple won the lawsuit? Because I know I tried telling some of my friends about the riddles, and they thought I was insane. But after Ripple won, they're like, you know what? I think those fucking riddlers were right.
I think I'd reassured them for so long that it was all a show, it was all a manufactured show, and the outcome was inevitable. So I think I'd already programmed them to that point, and none of them were very shocked, to be honest. But I know what you mean. Yeah, it does add some weight. I think when I woke up, I think one of the first things I watched was the Klaus Schwab. There will be a comprehensive attack, and I showed them all that, and I was going schizo at the time, and they thought I needed mental health help. So I'm obviously more in control of myself these days. But if that ever happens, that's the day when I pull down my pants in the office and go, "Told you, motherfuckers!" Jesus.
So I want that day to come. I have been fortunate enough that a lot of my friends and family have bought XRP. But you know what? I was cautious when introducing them to the riddles, because I feel like if you're not careful with certain people and you introduce them to the riddles, and if they're not like necessarily welcoming towards it, it might actually just stop them from buying XRP altogether. So I try to slowly, bits by bits, I may share a Mr. Pool post or something, but I'm happy that everyone's in, and let's see what happens, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did the same. I didn't push too hard on the Riddlers. I actually just learned early doors what the problem would solve financially, and that was sort of enough for them. Enough for them to go, oh, that sounds good. I better put some money in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
And
you
that's
don't
why I
even
always
need
loved
the
XRP. Like, I always loved XRP because even if you take away the riddlers completely, it's a great investment. Like, it's a great technology. It has a real utility, and you can logically see why the price would go up. You know, for me, the riddlers is just like
the Riddlers
it. For the way I view the riddlers was a way to keep us invested when shit got really, really bad, and not make us dump our bags and get shaken out.
Who
So
is a very
Exactly. Yeah. The Riddlers were
well connected.
the ticket past $13. You know, if you let's just say, for example, you had no exposure other than blockchain backer, okay, who is a very resourceful, well connected individual. Let's just say it, put it like that. Probably in the know somewhere along the way. Cough, cough. If you just followed him, you'd be selling at $13, and you'd be out. 65% of your bags would be gone at $13, and I think that's why that's inevitably going to happen. And then you probably wouldn't have learned the restraint to hold on to any more of your bags, and you'd see that, you know, you'd made a shitload of money and you'd sold most of it, and you probably only have 5,000 XRP left, and you go, yeah, I'll leave that for the future. So that's what I think the ordinary investor is going to do. They're going to sell it all, and what the Riddlers made us do, we were all like, no, I'm not going to sell at 13. But you'd be bad not to sell a little bit at 13, so you at least get your investment back and a little bit of fun money. But the Riddlers have made us think that there's something bigger on the horizon. And, you know, there are other people in the community that talk about $10,000 XRP, but, you know, I think the Riddlers give you the staying power.
yeah, for sure. Like, times got rough. Right? Think about everything we went through, right? We went through FTX collapsing, we went through Luna collapsing, went through the Silicon Valley Bank collapsing, all these other, like, you know, over $1 trillion wiped out of crypto. But the XRP community never really got shaken out. We also went through like the XRP lawsuit for 3 years. That's a long time to hold on to an asset. All the FUD we had to deal with. And you know that's why I kind of like I deeply respect the Riddlers, and regardless whether they're good or bad, I appreciate what they've done for us. Because like you know, Brad follows Mr. Pool, Bearable Guy, so does David. So they obviously, you know, I think they probably know the Riddlers, or maybe David himself is, you know, one of the Riddlers. But either way, it seems like they wanted us to maybe know the plan and know that they were going to try to shake us out, and we didn't get shaken out. Hopefully people didn't get shaken out. So they definitely owe a lot of a debt of gratitude to all the Riddlers, regardless what happens.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. You know, I'm very grateful to them as well. They've absolutely changed my life for the better, and that's why I decode, because I think there's going to be a point in time where they're not going to exist anymore. The silence is going to fall on that side of things, and what are we going to be left with? Only everything we've learned up to now, and so you know, I think there will be opportunities to take advantage of those signs and symbols going forward in the future. But you know, you've got to ask, why does David riddle himself? He's not a riddler.
You know what? I know like a couple months ago, David was being really pressed about it, and I know he tried to distance himself from the Riddlers. But the way I interpreted that was he got a little bit too close to blowing his cover, right? Like, assuming there's NDA signed and all the stuff is done in secrecy. I do think he was a little bit over the target, and he had to dial it back a little bit. You know, I don't believe that David rejects the Riddlers. That wouldn't make sense, or else why would he follow the Riddlers, right?
No, exactly. I mean, I follow, I decode, I don't decode him a lot, but there are some tweets that I have decoded and looked at and have got ideas for the future. And I think he is one of the key players, sending many signals. I mean, you've seen how many tweets he does per day. A lot of them are very, very intriguing, repetitive. You can apply all the same techniques I apply to Paul and Variable Guide to him.
Well, he's the creator of it, right? So, I mean, he's the mastermind probably behind a lot of these things. Brad's just that like Giga Chad executive that knows how to talk to the banks and get the deal signed. But David's like the mastermind behind this whole creation. So
yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me if he's in there.
Yeah, and Brett could be all kinds of level of, they're not going to give some chump, the CEO of Ripple, one of the biggest future companies of the world that are going to create the biggest resource. Brad must be hella connected. He must be the son of somebody very, very influential, or the second cousin removed or whatever. These guys are well connected and probably very, very smart individuals. They know exactly.
Brad is an interesting person. I mean, before he became the CEO of Ripple, he actually was, I believe, the CEO of Yahoo. So he's definitely well connected. But yeah, anyways, my point is I appreciate the Riddlers, and I think without them, I think the SEC would have shooken out a lot of people, no doubt.
So I don't think. I think it was always going to happen.
No doubt at all.
The SEC case.
So I'm just swapping. Let my dogs out.
Yeah.
Thing is that I think the SEC was a planned event. So I don't think. I think it was always going to happen. The theatre that is the SEC case. Variable Guy proved it was just in his timeline that it was going to happen, was planned to happen, and it was planned to end at a certain time as well. So I just think it's just all a big theatre show. The lawyers doing all the bits and bobs, they're just as much part of the show. This is one well-organised, oiled machine.
Well, what's interesting is I actually mentioned it earlier, is that because Ripple won the lawsuit in the way they did, which leaves the institutional buyers free and open to buy XRP, but the retail investors are able to buy XRP no problem. The institutional ones right now are kind of screwed. And now you're watching Congress rush to get a crypto bill passed. I've been following these crypto hearings for 2 years now, and it's nothing but a song and a dance. Nothing gets accomplished. Now it suddenly becomes bipartisan, where there's bipartisan support for these crypto regulations to get done. So the lawsuit was important, and it's whatever they had planned in the timeline was look, politicians don't do stuff, right? If it was up to them, they probably would have drug out this regulation stuff for another 10 years. Rosie Rios being best friends with Gary Gensler, it doesn't surprise me that this lawsuit ended the way it did, and now it's forcing regulations. And that also kind of sounds like Variable Guy's riddles, in a sense. Some of the scenes you talked about. So I think this lawsuit is very important.
You look at the Ripple board; they've got every key player under the sun that's worked for every key establishment. It's insane the level of people they've got in there. That probably all kinds of level of connections that are going to get things done. But when you've got things working to a script, it doesn't matter who you've got on board, just the people on board need to be aware of the script and happy to run with the script. Do you know what I mean? Where, certain things need to happen at a key point, and they're aware of that, and they just play the game until that time. And that's all I think it is. I don't imagine, unless it is very cleverly worked at their end as well, I don't imagine they're all passionately screaming at the SEC, saying, "How dare you sue us?" I think they probably
No, I don't think so. I think these regulations need to be in place because in order for the utility of XRP to be actually used, there needs to be a framework. Like these banks and institutions are not going to use something unless it's got rules, clear law-abiding rules. And if they knew that Congress was not going to make rules, how do you get legislation pushed through? Well, you go through the courts. And because the lawsuit ended the way it did, now they're rushing to get these regulations done. Which I think the timing is kind of funny that Ripple wins. A week later, FedNow is going live. So
Amazon.
I'm excited for the next couple months, and I'm very, very interested to see what happens.
Their stock price went up, but it was essential.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean,
to be able to
if you look back
progress
to when SEC sued Amazon,
SEC regulation
it was a long time after the lawsuit was concluded that their stock price went up. But it was essential for them to be able to progress. And this SEC regulation against Ripple obviously gives XRP the clarity, and it seems that is firm that XRP being sold to retail wasn't a security. But these regulations, they're not just going to have an effect on XRP, it's going to affect the entire market when the other regulations come in.
The result of these regulations, because they're changing.
We are going to see an absolute explosion. And it's going to be far more impactful than the Amazon lawsuit. It's going to be 10 times as powerful, the result of these regulations, because they're changing the entire front line of finance.
Dude, how long have you been in the XRP space?
Since like 2016, 2017.
September 2020.
September 2020. I think you and I got in around the same time, to be honest. I feel bad for anyone who's been holding since like 2016, 2017. Like I have no way to all this time, following the riddles and stuff. But at least the saving grace is knowing that they probably have really, really fat bench time.
I think
Yeah, I must admit, if you were buying XRP in 2016, geez, you're sitting on a pretty penny right now. You're not skint, I don't think. So, I mean, I think someone who bought even then, say if they bought, they probably could have afforded very easily 100,000 XRP back then, just with a medium amount of money. So, they would be at very least right now sitting pretty, with about $70,000. And they would think, well, I'm up from my investment. It might have gone down lots since the all-time high. I might have missed my opportunities if I didn't sell anything, but I'm still up. So I'm not complaining. So it's probably, although it's a long wait, it's an easy wait, isn't it? Because you look at your investment,
Oh, for sure. And if you were following the riddlers, then they were guiding us, right? So when XRP did drop to 30 cents in this past couple of years, XRP was down at 30 cents. If you took the guidance of the riddlers and did accumulate over these past couple of years, you should be sitting with a pretty decent bank, right? And if XRP does hit $20, maybe $30, and maybe it sits at $30 for the next 2 years, I don't think anyone's really complaining about waiting until 2025. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm looking forward to that.
And that's been the main message. Whether you knew what riddle meant what, the ultimate message was just keep accumulating. And even Bubba's main message, for those who don't like him, his main message, despite if you just ignore all the rest of his antics, his main message was just keep buying XRP. And you can't criticize someone who is telling you to buy that and accumulate during the fear, during different stages, even if there were many other elements that were going with that. It was, that's been the main message from all of them. So hopefully that pans out. We got it right. We listened.
Well, if we're assuming that XRP will probably hit like $10 to $20 maybe in the next 6 months.
Oh no, I fully packed my bags.
Do you think we still have one more big crash coming for XRP, or do you think? I know I've asked you this already, but are your bags packed, or are you still waiting for a little dump here and there to pick up some more?
Oh no, I fully packed my bags a few days after the bottom last year. That was when I put most of my savings in. And so I've just been chipping away. I've been, I work and earn money. So I've been chipping away a little, added more, throughout the year, but nothing to the quantity that I put in last summer. So I'm very grateful that I had that opportunity to buy that bottom. I didn't buy the lawsuit bottom, and I didn't buy the Corona bottom because I wasn't in then. But the lawsuit one, I was still fresh and new, and listened to the fear, but didn't buy it. I didn't buy much anyway. But it's been low relatively anyway, hasn't it? It's been low for a very long time. I must have bought my average in sort of 2021, just before it all went up, sort of 20 to 25 cents. So that was quite nice. But yeah, imagining being someone who bought it for 1 cent is just wow. But yeah, do I think
those guys are fortunate, man?
Yeah, they're so fortunate. But that's why they have the ability to relax, even if it's low in general terms. They're still up handsomely. But do I think it will crash? Well, yes, but not necessarily now. And it's difficult to determine because, like I said,
there's so much going on.
Yeah. I think the bear, like I said, the bear told us that Sol was the bottom of the bear. So I've seen theories of 6 cent XRP, 10 cent XRP. There is nothing that indicates to me that we go that low again. But what could happen, and it is suggested, is that there is a considerable pump, and then some top of the market. And if there is a genuine flip of the switch, some event that I think that it might align to next April, it might not, but if there is something, well then we've got time to see what happens before that, and there may well be more further times, maybe 3 times. They come in threes, don't they? 3 opportunities where there are profit-taking zones. And if we do get some sort of crash when we're up high, say for example, we get a little boom in the next 2 weeks, and have some and then suddenly the 30 trillion market comes in and crashes the market, and then it all comes back down again to a certain level, and then so that's a possibility on the table. Or we could get to October sort of time and have that. I really feel that there is a new cycle beginning around the October. So I don't know if we're going to be high or low at that point. Just judge that for yourself. But yeah, I think there is potential that we.
Well, I also think. Sorry, man. Didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Well, that's kind of what I was alluding to. Is that
No, I think there's potential for it, but I don't think from here necessarily. But if we did get it, just buy it up, because I think it would be the last one.
Well, that's kind of what I was alluding to. Is that I think cheap XRP is one of those. It depends on your perspective of what cheap is. Considering the all-time high was already $4 to $5. Even now at 70, 80 cents is considered cheap. And assuming we know where XRP is meant to go, in the double digits, triple digits plus.
No, and neither do I.
This
Neither
is
do
cheap.
I think that's why we had.
But I don't think we're gonna have like a
on
30 cent. I
13th of
don't think
July.
30 cent or
It's
20
pumped it
cent
up
is back
to,
in the cards. I think
I think the lowest it's
like
gone
I just don't get that
69
feeling
cents,
based on what's kind of
which
happening.
is funnily
No, and neither do I. Neither do I.
Mirror of
I think that's why we had that lawsuit pump on the 13th of July. It's pumped it up to, I think the lowest it's gone since then is 69 cents, which is, funnily enough, the mirror of the Bitcoin all-time high. Oh yeah, I'll explain that as well. Why I think 13 is such a poignant number as well. But yeah, I think now people are buying it. They're not able to buy nearly as much retail as they could have. If you're just getting into it now, you're buying at 70 cents. It's still not a bad price if it is going to go to $10, but you can't accumulate nearly as much. So I do think that's probably our low done. Mentioned very quickly the Shane Ellis theory. That theory was, you were talking about the regulations and retail. Now we have the ability to buy XRP and hold it, but the institutions don't. And the Shane Ellis theory involved that the institutions didn't have the regulatory clarity to do it, so they had to buy off the open market, off the exchanges, and it was that would send the XRP price spiraling high. So if that happens, that will be absolutely insane. And I think he mentioned something about $500 XRP, but again, that's crazy money speaking. But if we do get any whirlwind kind of thing like that, then that could just be in play, looking at the way it's playing out right now.
Yeah, 500 that's a high number. The market cap would need to be like 50 trillion to get the number to, but those are just short term, because XRP is a deflationary asset. So every time the transaction is done, a little piece of it gets burned away forever. So if there are like millions and millions of transactions going through the ledger daily, the supply of XRP will shrink, and you'll need less money to bring it to a high number. But going back to the Shane Ellis theory, unless they get regulations in place that allow the institutions a private way to buy the XRP through Ripple, then yeah, the exchanges is basically the only way they can get it. And then you ask, what's going on with the automated market maker? What's going on with Liquidity Hub? What's going on with XLS30D? XLS30D is not live yet. And I still don't believe that XRP was added to the Liquidity Hub. So
yeah,
I wonder what they're waiting for.
Looking at the tech side, I
truly do.
To bits and bobs of them.
I saw that XLS30D just passed the security audit, so I'm assuming they're getting close to bringing that out there.
Everything will be ready exactly when they need it to be.
Yeah, I don't bother looking at the tech side. I've listened briefly to bits and bobs of them, and it's all quite fascinating. But again, I think everything will be ready exactly when they need it to be ready, and that's why I look at the 6th of April next year, because I don't know if you know, obviously the Grand Lodge in London, the Masonic Grand Lodge in London is the mothership of lodges. It is the one that founded the Masons in 1717. London being the very prevalent key to the monarchy and the crown, all those rituals. And the 6th of April is the date the UK or the London UK financial year begins. So it would make sense to me, and it is a Sunday going into the Monday the 7th, it would make sense to me that would be the sensible time to switch over to a new system in line with the UK financial sector.
Well, the reason why I brought up the automated market maker and the Liquidity Hub and XLS30D is because it aligns up with the Shane Ellis theory, where if they can only buy from the exchanges, the automated market maker would source the best liquidity from the exchanges, right? So
Yeah, I mean,
it could hit $500 soon. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. I hope it's going to happen. Absolutely. But like I said, I'm happy with double digits. I can wait another few years and not.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. Yeah, it's very feasible that something incredible could happen. I just can't get away from. I mean, maybe that will happen in one of the designated times I've mentioned. But I know that they want the general populace out at $13, and why I think that's ritualized again. If you look at the 69,000 that Bitcoin hit, well, if you look at the top of the Masonic arch, it has the Cancer sign, the 6-9. So that is the top. It couldn't have been a more obvious top for Bitcoin. But if you then compare the market cap of XRP, not market cap, the actual supply of XRP and Bitcoin, and you comparatively analyze 69K based on how many tokens there were versus the equivalent for XRP, well, surprise, surprise, that equals $13 would be the equivalent of 69,000 Bitcoin in relation to how many tokens in circulation.
Well, I mean, that's a good point. Like, if you can't shake people out from dumping the price, then you shake them out by raising the price. But an even more efficient way to shake people out is what I believe is what's happening right now, where there was so much expectation of the price just soaring after they won the lawsuit. Like, people were expecting like 10, 15, $20. But the fact that we're hovering at like 80 cents, I believe this is causing people to shake out their money. I think people will be like, you know what, it's pointless. We won the lawsuit, nothing's happening. Like, I'm out. I'm going to take my profits and bounce.
But of course, if you've been studying it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for as far as anyone else is concerned, they might be thinking, is that it? Is that all we got? All right, what else? They might not be thinking that anything else needs to happen. But of course, if you've been studying it, you realize there is more coming. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be down to the individual, isn't it? And there is still lots of FUD. That's why people like Scams Detective exists. He's there to scare out the last of the weak-willed. And he's a deliberate ploy, but a very, very clever guy. He's got a lot to tell you if you listen and read between the lines. But ultimately, they're all there to work their magic and get you out at whatever point.
Well, yeah, it was just, like I said, I think, personally, I think this is the shakeout right now. This state of limbo that the price is in after they've won the lawsuit. And it wouldn't surprise me if, more announcements come out, more CBDCs go public, more partnerships start to be revealed, all this stuff, and who knows what's going on with BRICS in August. Well, let's see what happens when they bring out their reserve currency competitor. But I think they're shaking people out now, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do get some price action before 2024.
Screaming from their lungs.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the thing is, the shakeout started in 2020, the real shakeout, the entirety, when the lawsuit hit. So many people got worried. You have a conversation with the Bitcoin maxi, they'll be screaming from their lungs that Bitcoin, the XRP's, shitcoin. And they might have actually changed their tune, knowing that XRP now has some sort of semblance of clarity. And they're thinking, oh, actually, it's a good deal. And I'm actually surprised that XRP is as low as it is. So maybe it's that psychological mind fuck if it's gone up a bit, but not much.
Oh, it definitely is, man. I tell you, even me personally, I've been like an avid follower of the Riddlers for like a couple of years now, and I've been holding XRP since the same time you got in, and I research every day. I watch all the videos. I'm always on Twitter. But I'll tell you, man, it got to me a little bit when they won the lawsuit, and I saw the price stop where it stopped. Like it even made me kind of question things. So I can imagine your average person how they feel. Like I bet you that every retail person that's sold right now is being bought up by an institution or a big fish.
It went up to 96.
Yeah, I mean, and they could already be buying it, no doubt. But I think what gives you comfort is when the Riddlers give you comfort, and when you know the esoteric elements as well. You know, because XRP, when the lawsuit hit, it went up to 96 cents. What's 96? It's the flip reverse of 69. It's the top of the arch. And then when it came back down, where did it bounce off of 69 cents? So it's all ritualistic, and if you understand, you know, it's just playing a code. It's just having a little bit of fun with you. You can, it just chills you out, you know. And I think you've learned that along the way, and it just becomes
I'm
easy.
only in because of the Riddlers. I've only stayed in because of the Riddlers, dude. I would have probably bailed a while ago if it wasn't for
I know.
my boy,
Yeah,
Bearable
that's a cool
Guy,
video.
and Mr.
You
Pool.
know, I was on holiday last
Yo,
week.
every time Mr.
And I
Pool drops
literally
that
drew,
video of like the what can you do now
No,
with
go
the
on, go on.
XRP symbol that flashes at the end, dude, that's like one of the best videos ever made by anybody.
Yeah, you
I know.
did. And it was,
Yeah, that's a cool video.
I posted
You know, I
it.
was on holiday.
I went
And
to,
I literally
I was gonna
drew.
say,
down south and went
oh,
to the
sorry, go
coast.
ahead.
No, go on,
And
go on.
one day I just suddenly
Well, I was gonna say, Mr.
overwhelming,
Pool posted that video again
desire
like a couple
to
days
draw
ago.
What can you do?
Yeah,
in the
he
sand.
did, and it
I
was
drew the X symbol as well.
I posted it.
And,
Well, no, I
posted
drew.
it.
I
think
went
it was
to
on the 19th
went
of
down
July.
south and went to
Literally
the
2
coast.
days,
And one day I
9
just
hours
suddenly
later,
just
did
overwhelming
that video. I was like,
desire to draw what can you do
I
in the
intuitively
sand, and I drew
realised
the
when
X
he was
symbol
gonna
as well.
post, or did he
And
reply to me?
I posted it. I think it was on the 19th of
So, I
July,
mean, I'm not gonna
and
be that
literally 2
egotistical, but it
days,
was like, whoa.
9 hours later, Paul did that video. I was like,
Yeah, I'm
dude,
trying to. I've been chatting to my
did
my
I
good
intuitively
time
realize
guru,
when he was going to
saying,
post,
you know,
or did
what do
he
you
reply
think?
to me?
Was this a sign? Because,
So I mean, I'm not going to be that
Yeah,
easy.
yeah,
But
you
it
could
was
have. I
like,
mean, you could have replied to
similar
it.
duration from my cyber event.
yeah, I'm trying to. I've been
Could
chatting
So
to
I
my
was trying
good
to correlate
time
between,
guru.
you know,
They're saying,
and
you
I
know,
know
what do
they
you
do send
think?
messages to
Was this a
members,
sign? Because
some of them more
Merlin,
obvious than
the
others.
wizard, gave me a
But
similar
yeah, so I
sign,
did find that
similar
interesting.
duration from my cyber
Who
event
knows?
post as well. So I was trying to sort of correlate the two, you know. And I know they do send messages to members. Some of them more obvious than others.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah, so I did find that interesting. Who knows?
Well, I don't know, man. I think everything is lining up to be a spicy August. We'll see what happens.
You are very, very welcome.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Lovely to chat to you, and
I had a pleasure talking
I'll
to you,
follow
and
you,
thank you
so
for answering
don't
all my
forget.
questions.
Just forgot to follow the
I'm
other.
gonna
But yeah, no,
step
pleasure.
down.
Get in contact anytime. I'm available by DM. Elusive.
You are very, very welcome. It
Do
was
you wanna
lovely
ask
to
a few
chat to you,
questions before
and
we,
I'll follow
sign this off?
you, so I don't forget. Unfortunately, I forgot to follow the other guy. But yeah, no, pleasure. Get in contact anytime. I'm available by DM. Elusive, do you want to ask a few questions before we turn this off?
It's happening. No, it's weird. I've been getting people requesting all night long. Oh no, there you are. It's happening. You're on the mic if you'd like to speak.
So y'all are just talking about that video?
It's happening. No,
Isn't it
it's weird.
coincidental that
I've been getting
next
people
month
requesting all night long.
the
Oh no,
BRICS
there you are.
countries go
It's
live on
happening.
the
You're on the mic
22nd?
if you'd like to speak.
You watch
So
that
y'all are
video,
just talking about that
see,
video
it looks like the
that
American
Pool posted?
economy
Isn't it coincidental that
and then
next
the flash
month
of at the
the
end
BRICS
between the
countries
two
go
pillars
live
you
on the
have XRP.
22nd?
There's
You
gotta
watch
be
that
some kind of
video,
deal
you see
that they
it looks
made
like the American
at
economy
the end
crashing,
is what
and then the
the
flash
only thing
of
you can think
at
of.
the end between the two pillars
What are
you
your
have
thoughts?
XRP. There's got to be some kind
Well,
of
I mean,
deal
ever
that's
since
going to be
he's
made
been
at the
posting
end.
that video, I think it's just another
Is what
message to
is the only
accumulate.
thing you can think of.
But I think he
What are
posted
your
it
thoughts?
in June and July.
Well, I mean,
possibly.
ever since he's
So it could just be
been
that
posting that video,
we're running
I
out
think
of
it's just
time.
another message to accumulate.
And that is still something we can do.
But I
You can
think he
still
posted
buy
it in
XRP. I know there's
June
quite a lot, you know, it's literally,
and July, possibly.
between two pillars.
So it could just be that
on the
we're running out of time, and that is still something that we can do. We can still buy XRP. I know there's quite a lot. You know, it's literally between two pillars, so to speak, on the image. So there's probably some sort of esoteric meaning with it as well. Something to do with maybe an eclipse or something.
So you just said something
else.
between the two pillars. Could the pillars be the east and west?
If it's literally, let's just, for example, if we
Being-
look at,
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think the riddles have multiple meanings.
John the Baptist,
So yeah, east and west, winter and summer.
the summer solstice.
It could mean
between those,
that if it's literally, let's just, for example, if we look at the pillars as, you know, John the Baptist and John the Evangelist, we have the winter and the summer solstice. Well, what comes between those? We've got the autumn or the fall, as you say in America. That's around about the 22nd of September. So it could be another message to say you can still buy XRP at that point, or it could just have, you know, multiple meanings.
Cool. Nice to hear your thoughts. Thanks.
Okay, cool. Well, I think this has been running 3 hours now, so I think I'm done. Thank you very much, active audience. It's been a pleasure. You take care of yourselves, and I will be doing some more spaces.
Okay, cool. Well, I think this has been running 3 hours now, so I think I'm done. Thank you very much, active audience. It's been a pleasure. You take care of yourselves, and I will be doing some more spaces coming up. And for those who've been listening to the whole thing, I hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Any questions, you can DM me, and catch you soon. Oh, your mum.
Take it easy.
Go on in. One last opportunity. Nope, disconnected again.
Oh, your mum.
Okay.
Are you here or are you not?
All right. Sorry, whoever your mum was.
Just leaving. So.
But anyway, all the best, guys. Take it easy, and see you soon.
Take it easy.
Oh, your mum. Are you here or are you not here?
Hey, I'm here. What's going on?
Just leaving. So
I did a brief, quick calculation, real quick with market cap, and if we take in consideration that XRP doesn't surpass Bitcoin's market cap, I just ran Bitcoin at 45K, making it at 840 billion market cap. And if XRP is theoretically $14, we'll have a 750 billion market cap. So taking that in consideration, we could possibly find a time frame when Bitcoin is in the 40,000s that we could possibly get that $13 XRP price. But anyways, thanks for a good, cool spaces, and hopefully talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you for that. That actually makes sense with the guys that think Bitcoin will retrace to around about 40,000 before it keels over, and their expertise is it could go as low as 2,000. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So thank you for that input.
Cool. Thanks. Have a nice day.
Cheers. You too. All the best, guys.
Son. The microphone was on the whole time. Fuck.